be half professional about things. It just depends. Oh,
Don't
we got
feel
people
bad.
already in here. Good,
Don't
good,
feel
good.
bad.
All
Don't
right,
feel bad at all,
so
at all.
we are coming in hot, by the way. This is episode 50 of What the Fuck Just Happened. This is the season finale. So those that missed, and I know I'm going to get a whole bunch of new audience members, for those that don't know the format of the show, it pretty much is a no holds barred, uncensored podcast featuring myself, DJ81, and just waiting for my co-host to pop back in. He's having technical issues at the moment. And we talk about sports, video gaming, whatever pops up. And for this episode, we decided to have two special guests that are part of the community. So say hi to the people. You got Drey Watson and you got Sim Gaming Network. So say hi to the folks.
Oh,
What's
Sim,
up,
you go
y'all?
first if you want to.
Yo, what's
No,
up, y'all?
anybody. Yeah.
Oh, anybody? Oh, it's like that. Oh,
Yeah,
man,
this
well,
is
first off, salutations. Thank you for having me and the Brody Sim Gaming Network on here. It's been a minute. I needed to meet Sim in person, at least camera wise. I'm just kidding. But again, thank you, DJ. This is dope. This is pretty dope right here. So
no problem.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to do this as well. I've only done this like one other time. I've had a lot of fun with it, so I like doing this thing, and I'm excited.
All right, so my co-host is back here in the chat, and again, welcome Drey, welcome Sim Gaming Network, and Bills is in the chat. So let's see if we can get his AOL video chat going.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
yeah, we can hear you.
But your video is frozen. About to sing "Let It Go."
Yo, it's about to be on Let It Go time. Damn.
But nah, the Bills, you straight down there? Okay.
You got yourself on mute. It should be working.
Hey, Kusa, what's up?
All right, let's get everybody here.
You're-
So Joseph Sullivan, it's like, yo, what's up?
That boy. What up?
And
What
then
up? What up?
Kusa,
Drey,
and it's
what did DJ say?
wow. I don't think he can. Hey,
I don't
Bills,
think he can hear you.
yeah,
Is your
that's
mic
what I'm
muted,
thinking.
DJ?
Nah, my mic is
Bills, is your mic muted?
I can hear him. I can hear him asking what people are saying.
yeah.
Okay, just making sure, because damn, if that's the case, damn.
Yeah, that would
StreamYard's
be
trying to mess y'all up today, boy.
StreamYard, Twitter. It looked like YouTube was about to mess up for a little bit, but you know what? It screams my podcast's title. What the fuck just happened? 'Cause basically, it's like all help.
Literally, all hell broke
Hey.
loose at the top of the hour.
I
Tom
know,
Brady
right?
to go. What's up?
Oh, okay.
Oh, Sim Gaming Network got the people, but look who he getting.
See,
He
that's
getting
what
all
I'm
the
saying.
VIPs, bro. See, that's what I'm
Like,
talking about.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
go
It's gonna
ahead.
be. I appreciate you
Can y'all
guys.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can
now.
hear you now.
I'm just- he said he snuck this in.
I kept this one quiet.
Yeah. This podcast.
He
pretty
said
much
you
been
snuck
full-
this one on in. Yeah, he did.
Oh,
He
yeah,
did.
this-
Sim Gaming Network was sneaking ones in on the code.
Yeah,
You
this
gotta
one.
watch him.
Yeah, this one tends to fly under the radar. So I'm just trying to see what's going on with Bills because
I ain't gonna hold you. I didn't know you was doing this. I was like, yo, you hit me. I was like, wait, what?
yeah. See, and it's funny because it's like it's kind of on purpose. I'm one of those podcasters that's kind of like I don't care if I grab like backstory to the sim football community. When I first met Smitty and Sim Ball, they're the ones that can tell you when I first got into this, I really didn't care about the views. I didn't care about like really growing my channel. I was just interested in just having fun, practicing video production, and just just having fun. I always wanted to post clips. I'm one of those people that was posting clips, actually not posting clips, recording video on VHS recording apparatus of Resident Evil 2 back in '98.
Dang.
Dang.
Yeah, so that's been long running for me, video production.
Yo, appreciate you doing that, Kusa.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's what's up. That's what's like. Just not
Yeah.
hit the subscribe button. Hey, Y'all need to go ahead and follow up, man. Follow these fellas, man.
Yeah, and afterwards, I'm definitely gonna add more mods to the channel. 'Cause I know Bills is one. I know VF used to be one. Oh, no, I think he still is, but he doesn't even pop up every now and then. But I should make both of you guys mods, and then add Kusa if he ever pops back in. So
you made me a mod.
Oh,
like a year ago. Yeah, like a year ago.
Oh yeah, you're right, because you made me a mod. We kind of did back and forth.
He said, Kusa says, explain what a VHS is for the ones in the back. Help him out.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we got probably some youngins watching.
Yeah.
They're
So
little new.
it's funny because I literally could go and grab. Oh no, it's stuck in the trunk. Yeah, it's basically. Let's see. I would age myself even more if I were to go in and say it's like a cassette tape. But just think of something like a disc or something that has two spindles and it has like tape between the two, and that's where the video footage is on. Some that like film, and then you popped it into a machine, just like you pop a quarter into a soda machine or whatever, and you hit play, and it just plays. It's not a streaming app. It's not a.
It's not a streaming app.
You said you were recording clips of Resident Evil in '98. I was gonna say, fun little fact since we're talking, football. Madden '98 was my first Madden on Sega Genesis, and it had the little extension part with the yellow clip on the side because the game needed to have that much more. But that was my very first Madden. Was Madden '98.
Damn, Madden '98.
I remember that. I actually hated that Madden because I think because of the way it was, it just seemed like you couldn't tell whether you were like people were open. You couldn't really read defenses and stuff like that. I think they were also converting over from. It was like pixel. They was like converting over from they were converting over to the digital athlete, I think, after that year. So
they're working on the Sony side for the PlayStation. Yeah.
And then another little known fact: Visual Concepts was working on Madden at one point.
Yeah.
So and one of the Maddens got canceled because of it. So
Kusa's first Madden was not you little four-year-old Kusa playing Madden '92. On the SNES,
man, that's why I'm wearing the Redskins jersey, because that was the Super Bowl year, the last one we actually get to celebrate.
I would say my only first Madden I played was Madden 2004.
Your first one with Vic on the cover?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. No.
Michael Vick was just OD. He was just OD.
98 was my first that I played, but 2000 on PlayStation 1 was the first one where I was a little bit older and I understood more of how to play the game and what was going on. And that's the one where I actually got into did a franchise and went several years in. And then when I switched over to PS2 is Madden 03, which that was insane because they had create a play and they had custom formations and all the stuff we don't have now. They had the mini camp stuff, which was fun, training camps. And you had Al Michaels and John Madden on the commentary, and it was just like,
damn, that's an OG,
bro,
man.
I can remember just sitting and playing the game on like a nice winter day, and it just felt like you were watching a game on TV.
And of course, I got everybody beat. Madden was the cover guy on mine, but not 92. The first one on PC. The first one on PC is my first Madden, so I got the little sprites. But I mean, it was hard to play because I'm like the plays they had the real plays, and I think Madden said it back in the day. If I can't get 11 on 11 on a screen,
you didn't want it,
right? Exactly, he didn't want it.
Yeah.
So here we go. So Stick Flare. Hey, what's up? And there's
my boy Flare. Yeah, that's the Brody right there. What up, bro? What up, Flare? Obi-Wan Wick. Why you gotta do me like this? Known for the shooters, man. Known for the first-person shooters. Yep. First and third-person shooters. If you take that back, I'm like John Wick out here. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you.
So Kuza is saying, I wonder how many youngsters know that what EA stands for.
Electronic Arts. Not everybody knows that. Everybody just know EA Sports and EA Sports Big. That's all.
Well, currently what it stands for is everything's ass. So I just
that too.
I'm like, there's certain games that they're not
non-sports titles are pretty, they can compete in the non-sports department, but man, they just went all monetization heavy on all their sports games, and they just care about how they can make more than that.
I agree.
I just saw it too.
Egregious acts. Thank you. I'm tweeting that up, man, bruh. Thank you. Thank you. You came up with a perfect one. Thank you. The new EA slogan. Anybody at EA, please don't kill me. This is just jokes.
Don't tell me you get sponsorship.
I'm having the most fun in Madden 23 than I've had in a very, very long time. I mean, I'd probably say since, what was it, Madden 15, when they still had Jim Nantz and Phil Simms as the commentator, maybe 16. Whichever one was the last one. I'm
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But it looks like Bill's just tuning in with his.
He looks.
Phone.
You can see him too.
All right, can y'all hear me now? Because I know that Snipe said some slick shit before, and I couldn't hear it. I know all of y'all were laughing and having a good old time because my Wi-Fi was fucking up. Now, what did you say before, Snipe? Because I need to hear this.
Oh, okay.
You got it. You tell the story so great.
Oh boy!
I just want to hear because I know Snipe was talking shit, and I couldn't hear, so I'm just trying to figure out what he was saying. So
basically, Bills, I was like, because we're all around the same age, and I said, Bills, remember, man, back in high school, we'd be AOL chatting with a girl, and be like, yo, let's webcam chat with each other, and she'd be like, okay, and she popped up, and you'd be so excited, and then you'd see her, but she'd be all pixelated, and then she'd move, and it wouldn't register for like another 10 seconds. And that's what you looked like, bro.
Oh, so you were bashing my Wi-Fi? So Snipe, here's the thing, right? I wasn't gonna talk no shit tonight, right? I was gonna be nice, and I was gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna be nice to Sinead. I'm not gonna talk no shit about the fact that Aaron Rodgers was watching the playoffs from home. But, now it seems like he really wants to spend a lot more time at home because he's taking 4 days in the dark without watching TV about people that are successful to see if he actually wants to play football next year. So, I have a lot in common with Aaron Rodgers, but the difference is I intentionally want my Wi-Fi to work. He wants his shit off so he doesn't have to hear about how trash his season was this year.
Look,
but
listen.
Go ahead.
My boy Aaron, you're right. He's sitting at home, doesn't know his future. But I will say this: at least my man didn't sacrifice a 10-year marriage to get his ass kicked in the first round by the Cowboys.
You know the difference is? I would much rather make it to the playoffs and lose in the first round than to basically figure out vacation plans in week 17.
Yeah, but it also cost him his marriage.
I don't think he cares. He's fucking some young bitch right now.
I'm just saying, though.
I don't think he's inclined to give a fuck. He's Tom Brady.
I understand that, but Aaron
Rodgers is going off into some fucking introvert metabolism saving meditation.
Hey, if let me back in the MVP conversation. He's got to do what he's got to do.
Let me cut in. Y'all, hey, Phil, you gonna say this for your podcast? He gonna
talk
we're gonna say.
Hey, time out. It ain't talking shit if it's true, Billy. You look like pixelated. Minecraft. 10 FPS.
But the difference was you could have been like, damn, Bill's having problems with connection. Nah, you tried to catch a stray.
And I said it's all love. I also said it's all love, but you couldn't hear it because your internet is from 2001.
Damn.
Hey, you know what the difference is? At least my headphones are from 2001. What are you wearing? Britney Spears' recording studio headphones right now?
Some Beats Studio 3s.
Those were the prototype for the first Beats that Drey came up with in 2001 in his garage. That's what those are.
All right.
It's all love, like I said.
All right, let me break in real quick because, like I said, this turned into a roast session real quick, and we're not gonna do that for the entirety of the night. There's plenty of time for all that. But it sounds like both y'all got a lot of shit off your chest, and
No,
it seems like that's a segment
I
that
know
we
it
have
was all
on our show.
This
so,
is no different than Twitter. We're fucking around.
No, trust me, I know. It's called a segue.
Oh, wait. Let's
Yeah,
segue into something.
exactly.
No. Let's segue into something real quick because it's a funny story. I know Schneid remembers this.
Okay.
Remember the night we were talking shit back and forth? We were joking around, and then that like Tom Brady stand came in and was like, "I don't know how you talk to this guy. He's like so stupid." And I'm just like, "Hey, we're joking around. Relax." And Schneid's like, "Yeah, we're literally fucking around." It's a dude that neither of us knew just came into conversation and was like throwing crazy shots at Schneid. I'm like, "Nah, it's not that type of party, buddy. I'm not a Tom Brady stand. We're literally just talking shit about our teams. Like, relax. Go back to your fucking hole where you came from."
Yeah, because me and Bills, we've had knockdown, drag out, like through Twitter. I think we had it on PSN chats. Oh, check this man out.
Oh, what?
Pelican Man.
Oh, Schneid ain't gonna
came
remember.
out.
Schneid ain't gonna know about that.
Oh yeah, this guy. This guy. Okay, so the
He's got a nice
backstory.
profile picture though.
Yeah, it's
What is
of
that?
black.
What is that?
No, it's of another dude. This is more questionable behavior from this man, Pelican Man, because
made
he's
that
got
sound
Black
so sketchy.
Hokagi's picture as his profile picture. That
Yo,
is
DJ,
so suspect.
You ain't shit for that.
No,
DJ's like,
it's
oh, that's a nice profile pic. It's of another dude. Man, this sounds sketchy as fuck.
Man,
That was
Pelican Man
kind of
be
sketchy.
doing some suspect stuff. I'm like, this man one time, when we were doing when Bills and I and VF were doing the first and frame rates, was under one name originally, and then would come in, troll and whatever. And I called him out on it. Then all of a sudden he disappeared. Then he came back as Pelican Man. I was like, this motherfucker's the same person that was before. Don't hide. And now he's back.
Yeah,
Man, let me find out we bringing.
crazy.
Wow, let me find out we bringing the trolls back, bro. What's going on, bro?
Well, they came to
Two
the right
guests for the
stream
final
because they gonna get
episode?
chewed out.
Yeah, this is the stream that will chew out a lot of people who tend to troll, the scammers, the whatevers, the Pelican Man or Pelican Briefs, whatever. They will get chewed out here. It's no nonsense.
Some shit on Discord and Twitter. Damn, you a troublemaker like that, Schneid?
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I just I don't know. I guess.
I thought he said I was a racist. I was about to say that's all.
Nah, he's brown nosing. That's what he's doing.
Wow.
Damn,
What did Brock say in God of War? Brow sniffer or whatever. It was another name he said called what's the name? His brother
I think I
Sindri,
know you're talking.
brown noser. So
Do we have a real topic we were on? Did I interrupt some shit?
no,
I
this
don't
was
know.
no, this is an organic session. This is going to be about Drey and Sim Gaming Network mostly. I'm like, you guys wanted to roast each other at the beginning, so.
I wasn't
It was good. It was good.
It
But
wasn't planned though. It was just
that's the point.
Listen, I do want to talk about. I mean, if you guys are down, maximum football.
Yes, let's start there.
Fill me in on that because are they still doing that game or is it done?
They just dropped the trailer yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It looks. I mean, it's going to be free to play. They're going to have tiers to different elements. I saw an article today, and they're also going to do something that we've been begging for games like Madden and even 2K to do for a while. Is they're not going to have a yearly release. They're going to treat it like a live service. So it's basically they're launching Maximum Football in 2023. They're missing features at the beginning, but they're 100% going to – they already listed several features they're going to add down the line. And then basically it's going to be like a live service where they continue to add more things down the line. So one of the examples he said in the article was that initially on launch, you can play 1v1 online multiplayer, right? Their plan is to incorporate all the way up to 11 on 11 where you can pop in and out of games and whatever position's open, you play that position. They're going to add extra franchise features. They're going to continue to do game updates. They're going to continue to add more and more features based on community feedback, as well as improve the game. And basically all they're going to do is just drop these patches. Because, I mean, how long have we heard Madden every year is just a patch, right? And same, you could say that for a couple years with 2K as well, not to just like say it's all Madden. And MLB The Show the last couple of years just felt like the exact same game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but there, and we've always talked about like, instead of it being like a live service, or instead of it being a yearly release, just treat it like a live service and have us pay a subscription model for an update every year. That's the route Maximum Football is going. And, you know, the things they talked about that they're going to do, I think are going to be great. And they're going to, obviously, that's going to allow them to continue to record animations, fine tune the gameplay, and improve upon a solid base. You know, so, I mean, and the graphics look amazing. It's on Unreal Engine 5, which is already more advanced than what Madden's on as far as engine wise. They're using 100% real-time physics, which is something EA used 10 years ago, and for whatever reason decided to leave and go to animation-based gameplay, which has ruined the rating system, in my opinion. What's the point of player ratings now if it's all animation-based, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know there was 1 or 2 years ago you could – well, obviously we knew about the guy that won that Madden tournament with Tressway as his quarterback, right? And he just ran the ball every single time. Animations do that. Ratings don't do that, right? And then, you know, someone brought up to me that you can literally in Madden 23 go put a punter on as your offensive line and be okay. The punter will block the same as your actual offensive lineman. I need to test that. But if that's true, then again, ratings don't matter. It's all animations, and it's that RNG dice roll. Okay, are they going to win this animation? Aren't they? Right? And physics gets away from that a little bit. So I think it's going to be a huge improvement. I don't think the gameplay is going to be on Madden's level, but I think it's going to have a ton of potential. They're going to have a ton of customization. They're going to have a ton of franchise features we don't have. And they're not going to have the limitations of the NFL saying, hey, you got to take out those hard hits. Hey, you can't have those injuries. Yep. Hey, you can't have this. You can't have that. Right? So I'm excited, and it's free. Why wouldn't you want to play it and check it out and support?
Now, there are those out there. I do see people showing concern over the fact that it is free to play. Obviously, some people are like, oh, it's going to be microtransactions all over the place. They're thinking about one aspect of it. Schneid, what you put out there basically is what they would call early access. So like live service, early access. I'm familiar with those as far as PC. I'm currently playing a game called Scum. As Bills will refer to it, the slave runner catcher, whatever type simulator.
Roots 2023.
2023. Which has been in early access, I think, since 2018. And I've been playing it ever since 2020. It's still not at its full version, but every so often they would add a patch, it would update it.
Yeah.
It would be a major update. So I definitely understand what Maximum Football is about to go through. Now, go ahead.
I was gonna say what's really cool for you guys. You play on a gaming PC as well as console. Mm-hmm. What's cool is it releases in the fall for PS4 and PS5, but it releases this spring on PC. Yes. So you're gonna be able to play it. And again, the mods that the PC community can do on things outside of the fact that they leave it pretty open anyway. You know what I mean? So you're going to have generic teams, but it's fully customizational. You can upload logos. So I would say give it 2 weeks, and we're going to have the full NFL 32 teams and rosters completely downloadable because you can share it all. And then you're playing with NFL teams and players without the license. And then you can add PC mods. It's launching without commentary, but they're adding it. They have plans. They're working on the commentary now. He said that they want to have a good commentary. They want to be on point. So that's something that yo, Smitty, what's up?
I know.
They want Smitty in a bit. Oh, snap. Smitty. What up, bro? What up, bro?
They want it to be a very, very good commentary system that's going to get added later down the line.
I seen a comment. My bad to interrupt
you,
DJ. I seen a comment in the chat when he was saying, Kusa said, which was, I think it was something, once NCAA drops bye-bye Madden, that's just bringing them competition. Madden not going nowhere, bro. I'm sorry. There's a certain thing called licensing. They're not going nowhere. That's just more competition. That'll hopefully get Madden off their ass and tell them, we need to do something because right now we got other genres of football doing what we should be doing by now. So.
And
I mean,
if
that's
2K's
just
game,
from what I'm seeing.
2K's football game ever comes out, we haven't even heard a lick on that thing. Remember, there's
It
not just
doesn't exist.
I think there'd be an announcement somewhere that that's being canceled. I mean, but we have Maximum coming out. Access football is still a thing, and that's a way to get your college football fix. Now, Access football looks light years behind Maximum as far as gameplay goes.
He says, "Nah, bye, Madden for me." You saying that now, but when the next one drop and they show some clean ass feature on that mug, you finna be the first one dropping $70 pre-order. Don't act like you ain't gonna do it.
Drey, here's gonna be the issue, and it happens all the time with NCAA. When NCAA does some groundbreaking shit and puts it in Madden, motherfuckers start buying Madden again, and that's exactly what's gonna happen. NCAA is gonna be used as a vehicle to try out shit that they want to put in Madden, but that's gonna be their guinea pig, just like it used to be. And all the good shit that came from NCAA is going to get put into Madden, and then we're going to see Madden be decent on the field. But once again, it's all about off the field. I mean, me and Schneid talk at length about a lot of shit in franchise that makes it so that we have to go and jump through hoops to make the game playable as far as AI quarterbacks. DJ's talked about an injury system. There's all type of shit we've talked about. The thing is, with NCAA, they know their fan base is not going to accept any bullshit as far as the dynasty mode. So their dynasty mode is going to come correct. The only thing is, are they going to translate that into Madden right away? Which I'm not sure if they're gonna or not. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
But on the field, it should be pretty clean because
they did come out and say, they did come out and say Dynasty is their number one focus, though.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we get a good Dynasty aspect there.
Because they still view NCAA as sort of like I won't say a niche product, but that fan base is a lot more dedicated to Dynasty mode than Madden fans are in their eyes to franchise mode. So, if Dynasty mode is fucked up, a lot of people probably ain't gonna buy NCAA just to play a bunch of play now games. People will buy Madden and play online at length, right? All year they'll play online. Me personally, I feel like it was a wasted purchase because once you get into franchise mode and you see that, those archetypes are still fucking everything up, it's just it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Smitty, but they need to have that poor system be a little bit better because I can't tell you how many times, even up through NCAA 14, where I would have like stud players that were on my team declare for the draft. They'd be like 97, 98 overalls in NCAA, and then they'd come into Madden as like a 61 overall. They weren't even like a top player in the draft class. Like Madden completely rearranged the ratings, so the good players that were in NCAA weren't even good when you brought that custom draft class into Madden. So you were just getting the same players with scrambled ratings. So I agree with you, but they definitely can't have that be an issue because that's going to piss a lot of people off.
Pelican man is laying it on thick over there, isn't he?
And he always does. He's needed in the corner. That map that we found, that street map where we said Pelican man likes to frequent somewhere in Atlanta, Georgia.
In the hood of like fucking Alabama somewhere. That's what
I'm in the hood of Alabama somewhere, bro.
Drey, there was one time we was on the podcast and VF found this fucking like corner where it looked like you just walk out your house and get shot. That graffiti on the walls and shit. It looked like where Wu-Tang used to record their music videos. Like it looked like that, and we was like, "That's where Pelican man be hanging out." Unfortunately, I didn't say that. I was just laughing.
Now,
that's crazy.
Now, just to bring it back real quick, because I remember the last iteration of Maximum Football. I remember playing through that, and just to revisit the physics-based system. I'm like, I even realized back then, even with the little bit of money they was able to put into it, and just what they were trying to do. There was potential with that. So I really hope that this company is able to, or it looks like they put more money into it. They actually between, what's it, Mobius Studios, I believe? Modus. Okay, Modus Studios. And then they've actually combined, there's like several studios that combine under one conglomerate now. So I feel like they're gonna have the funding to be able to build this game the way that we need it to be. I think,
the fact that they purchased Unreal Engine 5 lets you know that, because that is not a cheap purchase.
Nope.
I want to get Drey's thoughts, because I know Drey is more of Like, I know you don't play football games nearly as much as I know we probably do. Is that a game that you would try out, or are you gonna wait to see some impressions on it, or because it's free to play, you're gonna play it like initially?
I
When it
mean,
comes
with
to
free,
consoles.
when it comes to console, I'll always try a free to play game, but I do want to see the initial feedback from everybody and see what it's like, see what it's about
Right.
first before I really jump into it. Like, especially when it is now within gaming, how it is in this time, you really have to weigh your options and try it out first before you even decide, all right, I'm gonna go, all hands on deck with it. From what Sim is explaining, it
Mhm.
sounds like it's gonna be pretty good. I just gotta wait and see and just check it out for myself and then try it out free. And then if it's nice, and I'll rock with it for sure. I mean, I'm no shot of playing football games. Y'all know that I played Madden.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. No, definitely. Yeah.
so it's like I'll give it a try, and then it's free. Who?
Feels-
I
we're
know
always
me.
free.
I'm petty as hell. Like I know that I don't got much space on my console. Call of Duty been taking up 175 gigs.
God,
So
You need
I
to
no.
go
can't just
ahead
throw
and
anything.
get you that. Go ahead, get you that SSD.
Yeah,
I need
they're
to.
worth
You'll be
it.
fine.
I need to, bro.
The nice thing is too is we got Smitty and DJ both play on PC, so we'll get early feedback from them on how it's
Right.
playing and its
Mhm.
potential.
Exactly.
I mean, I think my PC could probably maybe handle it. I don't know, but I'll definitely be watching what they do with it, and get a little excited. Hopefully, I think the reason they're launching it on PC is mostly to get a lot of feedback for things they can tune for console.
Mhm.
Okay. That makes
Now,
sense.
Yeah. Oh,
Just-
go ahead, DJ.
Just to let you know, I'm operating with a 1660 Ti graphics card. So some of the stuff that you see me post, that game should be able to run. So whatever graphics card you have, if it's there or higher, you should be good to go.
Oh, while we're talking about PC gaming, how have the updates to Undisputed been? Or have you not really? Has not been something that would make a difference because you're playing offline?
Yeah, I think for me, it's because I'm playing offline because I've seen a lot of people play online and
Mhm.
talk about some of the things with the missing bars at the bottom that let you know what round you're in, your energy bar and
Right.
stuff like that. I know they added that stuff in for the online portion of the game, but I really haven't noticed anything different offline. I know right now I had to switch controllers because apparently the PS5 controller operates better on PC than the Xbox controller. How's that work?
That's crazy.
Oh,
That's
don't let
crazy.
them console war motherfuckers find out. They'll be on
Yeah.
they'll die on that hill too.
Hey, y'all need to get this bad boy too. The
Oh,
new-
the-
yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
so good.
Yeah, you're gonna have to tell us about that because I know you did the unboxing, and also just to let you know, you kind of doxed yourself a little bit on that video. When I watched it, I was just like, I'm not gonna say. I'm just.
What do you mean?
Do you want me to say
Yeah,
exactly your home address? I don't know if you did like PO.
Oh, I was at work.
Oh, so okay. I'm just leaving it at
Oh,
that.
he was protected.
Okay, I'm just making sure because I'm
Yeah.
sitting there, I'm looking, I'm like, I hope he knows that. Okay, like
No,
good,
I didn't
good.
care because I was at
Okay.
what is now my former employer. So
Okay. Oh, so
Yeah,
they
yeah,
get
yeah.
anything like
I don't want to change the subject, fellas. These Bills. So the Lakers are going to get rid of Westbrook. He's going to Minnesota.
is that official?
They're getting D'Angelo Russell, right? Because I saw that.
Yes,
on
they're
my
going to
I
get
saw
Twitter.
that
D'Angelo
was-
Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jarrett Vanderbilt in a trade including Mike Conley and picks the Timberwolves and Russell Westbrook and a lightly protected 2027 LA first round pick.
I saw that was talked about. Did it actually happen?
He might
Apparently.
hold on. They say he might go to Utah. Ooh, no, he's going to Utah.
Yeah,
Oh.
these are from what I'm seeing, these are all possibilities. And they say if he goes to Utah, he's gonna get bought out. So
Yeah, I haven't seen.
Oh wait a minute, Kuz's saying
Wait.
it's official.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
it's
why.
official.
Oh no, he's saying
No, he's asking.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
fault.
no, yeah,
It's
it's
official.
done. The LeBron AD Russell Westbrook era is officially over.
Oh yeah, that's
So
wow.
so
Man scores 27 points in a losing effort and gets
That's
meanwhile
right.
AD disappears.
NBA retweet just posted Timberwolves versus Jazz tonight. Mike Conley was just traded to the Timberwolves. Does he just switch sides and put on a different jersey?
Well,
Well,
technically, you can.
hey, look, I'm gonna say this, and it might be a joke, but it also might not. I remember when Isaiah Thomas was swapped for Kyrie Irving. They might
Yeah.
not want to fuck around and do that because IT still had a fucked up hip. If they would have just swapped jerseys, he would have had a damn lawsuit on his hands.
Yeah.
So you can't
So I don't
always
think they're
do
gonna.
that because
I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna put him out there like that. They're gonna say, "Nah."
I think
you
this
sit
is a really
game
good
out.
trade. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the
We
Lakers,
just
they
gonna have
got
to see what happens.
here's what they needed, right? Pat Beverly is not a shooter. Russ Westbrook is not a shooter. Malik Beasley is a sniper. D'Lo can hit the three and he can hit the mid-range and he can create his own shot. He doesn't need someone to create a shot for him. Russ can't create his own shot, at least a good shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not able to get to the rim at will like he was 5-6 years ago, right? You know, he's in his 30s. His explosiveness has gone down a little bit. You know, D'Lo can create his own shot. He can hit the three. Malik can snipe it. So what do people always say you need around LeBron? You need shooters around LeBron, right? You post up AD, it's not there. You can kick it out to a shooter. LeBron drives and attacks, it's not there. Kick it out to a shooter. What have the Lakers not had other than the first year he was there? Second year he was there, excuse me, when they won it in the bubble. Shooters.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't had it. I mean, they had Danny Green, they had KCP, they had Kyle Kuzma, right? And like all these players, and they send them packing.
I don't know how.
My man's really just said the Pelicans will win the West anyway. I don't know about all that, big dog. I don't know about that. Have you seen
Pelican man just be, Pelican man just
I don't know, bro. If the playoffs started today, you might have a good talking point.
Yeah,
this ain't even started the second half of the season yet.
Pelicans just gotta stay healthy.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'll go last as far as how I feel about the trade. Drey, how do you feel about it?
I agree with Sam. It is a good trade. At the end of the day, LeBron needs shooters. He hasn't had no shooters. Now, I still feel like he shouldn't get. He had shooters beforehand, but why give up them shooters in the beginning? Like you had shooters, then you gave them up. Now you just not giving them back, which is like I don't. Lakers have to show improve at this point. AD, you need to stay where you're at. If you're not going to go to no stretch big. No, stay at the 5. As many times as he's going to complain, oh, I don't want to be at the 5.
We're going to talk about that shit.
You need to be at the 5. Yeah, like you need to be at the 5 somehow, some way, because you're too injury prone as it is. That's just me.
All right, so my take is going to be on a former Wizards player as far as this trade is concerned. I wonder how Rui is going to handle playing with D'Angelo Russell. I think that's because Rui, the last few games he was playing with the Wizards, he's shown that he can play. He has an inside game, outside game. He can hit the corner 3, kind of be like a LeBron light in a way. But I think I'm just wondering how it's going to affect him because they brought him in on a trade. I'm like, of course, the Wizards got Kendrick Nunn on that. So that's who I'm really looking at. Not the trade itself, but who is going to affect that just arrived on that team. And then I also wondered how Rui is going to play with LeBron because I think that's the biggest thing. Every time new players join on with LeBron, and that's where we're going to segue to, is their play tends to go down. And why? When all they got to do is play as themselves, and you will get a Lakers team that will be dangerous, down the stretch and into the playoffs if they make it.
So the team got younger. D Russ is about 27?
26.
26. Vanderbilt's pretty young, and Malik Beasley's pretty young. So right away, getting younger means more consistent effort on defense, right? Because Darvin Ham's big thing is defense. That's his calling card. As far as the shooting is concerned, look, the Lakers have made some terrible moves roster-wise that has affected that prior to this year. And I think that everybody rushing to get rid of Westbrook was something that I think was a played-out argument. I think that Westbrook has kind of accepted that role as a sixth man this year and actually played pretty well in it. And I think that it was a mistake for the Lakers fans to say, well, now you should start him. Well, no, the reason he's playing that way is because he got humbled and got sat down on the bench. And he said, well, now I can play my game off the bench the way that I, should have been playing as a starter, but, it was like a wake-up call. At the same time, I do like D. Russ as a player as far as his potential, but he's inconsistent. He doesn't give consistent effort on defense. I don't think this puts them over the top because AD came back and disappeared in that game last night the way he was doing before he got hurt, and I don't like that. He disappears for long stretches of games. LeBron James cannot be playing with another so-called superstar that disappears in long stretches of games the way that AD does. It doesn't matter whether you trade for D'Angelo Russell or not. Now, if this would have been a trade for Kyrie, I would have felt differently. Kyrie can carry the offense to a certain extent consistently. D'Angelo Russell cannot. Rui Hachimura is a great addition to this team as far as defense, spot-up shooting, pick and roll in the mid-range area, all those sorts of things. I don't think there's going to be any negative effect on Rui. I think that LeBron, what he needs at this point in his career is to play more off-ball, to be less accessible for the defense to kind of gang up on him with that lack of shooting on your team. And I don't think this really fixes the shooting problem either, quite frankly. I mean, it's one guy. So the Lakers still have a lot of work to do, and this trade is okay, but this doesn't put them over the top for me by any stretch of the imagination. I still think they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot in the end. And, this is going to be a chance for D'Angelo Russell to prove that he is that point guard that he looked like he was in Brooklyn, because he went to the Timberwolves and he was supposed to be him and Cat as far as, carrying that team to the playoffs, and they've been disappointing, even with Ant Edwards, who's a stud. So, it's going to be interesting. I'm much more excited about Kyrie and Luka than I am about this trade.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to say a couple things that people aren't initially noticing about this trade. Number one, Russ was on an expiring deal, so is D'Angelo. So the Lakers are, if they don't like what he does the last 28 games of the season or however many are left, they're not locked into him. They still have that 30-some million in cap space next year. So it is a really good trade in that aspect. Whereas had they went for Kyrie, he still has another year on his contract, I believe. So if they didn't like how Kyrie and them worked out, they're stuck into that contract for another year. So great trade as far as getting another expiring contract. Two, and Bill's brought it up, I do think D'Lo can be consistent because he did it in Brooklyn. The difference is when Kyrie got traded away from Brooklyn and went to go be in Minnesota after his a little short stint in Golden State, he's there with a bunch of young guys, right? Young guys have to develop that mentality, that winning mentality. Cat has never given me that winning mentality. Anthony Edwards is still extremely young. He's being, you kind of do as your peers, right? And I think that the killer instinct that D'Angelo used to have kind of got mitigated when he got put around these young guys who are just out there having fun, goofing around. You know what I mean?
But he was around young guys on Brooklyn.
But he was the only guy. He was the only guy. He was the guy.
So why would that? But my
because he was never the guy in Minnesota. He was never expected to be. He was expected to be Robin to Karl Anthony Towns' Batman. Whereas when he was in Brooklyn,
be even worse now.
I understand that, but as much as I don't want to say the word I'm not a fan. I'm not a stan by any means of LeBron, right? He makes players better, and he demands excellence out of them. And also, how many times have you seen, since he left Miami, so the 4 years in Cleveland and how many times have you seen players step up and be better than they really should have been, right? Even going back to his early Cleveland days, right? I don't think, even in Miami, he made some players, some players played way better in Miami when they were with LeBron than they did anywhere else in their career. Mike Miller, for example. He had some good years in his youth, but before he went to Miami, dude, Mike Miller wasn't doing anything. He was way more consistent in Miami than he had been for the last couple of years. So I don't know. I think D'Lo, and the other thing it does is for their starting lineup, right? So last night they started Russ and Patrick Beverley at the 1 and 2. So you have a point guard and a shooting guard. I know that NBA is going positionless, but Neither of them can shoot. Then you got Rui, who's a stretch big, LeBron, who I don't know what we're going to call him these days, and Anthony Davis, who is a center who doesn't want to be a center. So not a lot of shooting on the court. You can't really spread the floor with that. Who's going to be scared of it? Teams can pack the paint, which is exactly what Oklahoma City did last night with that lineup. When the Lakers played better is when Lonnie Walker came in the game and Austin Reeves came in the game, and they were able to shoot the ball a little bit, and that's when the Lakers were able to get in and stay in the game. So I think if you have a starting lineup, D'Angelo Russell at the 1, Malik Beasley or Lonnie Walker at the 2, then you go Rui, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, 3, 4, 5 in any literal order. You're going to be able to spread the floor a little bit, run some more pick and rolls, kick it out for 3 to either Anthony Davis in the corner, Malik Beasley or Lonnie Walker anywhere, D'Lo anywhere, and then your bench unit is now a dog mentality, defensively in Patrick Beverley, either Lonnie Walker or Malik Beasley, whoever doesn't start, Austin Reeves, who's been playing really well, and then Thomas Bryant, who's been given great minutes. So I think you have a solid 9-man rotation that is going to be able to attack via a pick and roll, kick out, and shoot the 3 way more than they had before. And Jared Vanderbilt, if he gets minutes, I don't really think he will, but if he does, he can step back and hit a couple jump shots.
Vanderbilt's going to play over every single big they have because he's better than all the bigs immediately, other than Thomas Bryant. But my question to you is, what happens when D'Lo realizes that he's playing on a team with 2 superstars and he can just get 11 points and it doesn't work out? Because that's what he does.
Well, didn't he do that in Golden State?
What do you mean Golden State?
He was with Golden State. He played with.
When he was Golden State, he did almost the exact same thing. Get 11 minutes, Yes, he was with Golden State.
When was D'Lo on Golden State?
When he got traded from Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, that's right, D'Lo. Yeah, he was on. I do remember that.
He played.
D'Angelo Russell was Golden State at a time, one season. It wasn't that. So
my thing is, he did it in Minnesota with a rookie that was more of a dog than him. So what happens when you have a superstar that's already got people on his ass? He's like, well, shit, they're pressing AD. I don't got to do nothing. LeBron's going to get his 30. He's going to give maximum effort everywhere. So I could just sit back and be the third guy. That's what he's going to feel like, bro. We've seen him do it before. He did it with a rookie. He did it with Cat, who he knew wasn't a dog. So why would he not do it here? He's going to do it. I would put any money on that. He's going to have some nights where it's going to be like, where was D'Angelo Russell tonight? He was on the court, but he wasn't doing nothing.
So I'll just to answer you, Billy, I just pulled it up here. So the year that he was with the Nets and led them to the playoffs, he played 30 minutes a game, averaged 21 points a game. As soon as he went to the Warriors and got put around, the talent that was there, he got 32 minutes a game and averaged 23 points on 43% shooting, 37 from 3.
Yeah.
As soon as he went to the Timberwolves, right away, again, during that season, his scoring went down to 21, and then in 2020 went down to 19, 2021 went down to 18, 2022 it's down to barely 18 points a game. And so, I mean, it was up higher when he was with those players in the Warriors. I think he's going to benefit. I think he's going to benefit from not having to necessarily carry the load. I think he's going to go back up to being a 22, 23 point per night guy. He's at 18 right now. So we'll see. We'll see what his splits are with the Lakers. I think he's going to be up in the mid-20s, 100%.
But Schneider, I would agree with you if he hadn't been with the Timberwolves for, 3 years? That turnover from Brooklyn to Golden State was a quick turnaround. That wasn't a 3-year of being in Brooklyn as the guy. It was, I'm going from a team where I'm the guy to a team where I can compete. Word, bet. Then he went to a team where they should be able to compete if he played up to his potential, and he didn't. So that was 3 years of him having a losing mentality along with other guys that had a losing mentality. Now he's going to a team that still, quite frankly, has a losing mentality for a lot of the players. And he's going to be expected, okay, D'Angelo, now you're going to have to come out here and get all the points that Westbrook was supposed to get, but make up for that by also getting the points that this new reshifted lineup is going to have to get. And when AD doesn't feel like playing last night, you're going to have to also make up for that. I don't see D'Angelo being able to do that because his mindset is a losing mindset. It's just like John Wall talked about. He told Kevin Porter and what's his name, Jalen Green, y'all wouldn't be playing on other teams right now the way y'all are giving effort on defense. And I've watched D'Lo this year. he is a guy that has a losing mentality right now. And he's being traded to a team that has less potential to be successful because of their overall talent level. But you're playing with LeBron James, so is LeBron really going to have that much of an impact on him when we know, quite frankly, this Lakers team isn't good enough to even compete because AD doesn't want to play every other night? I mean, look, I hope you're right, but I just don't see it.
Question. When was the last Timberwolves player in general to play up to their potential? Because we know Karl Anthony Towns ain't doing it.
And Edwards.
Yeah.
And Edwards last year, what is he doing this year?
I don't know what is he doing this year. I've seen him play pretty well in spurts.
He's not doing.
In spurts.
He's in spurts. He's not. That's what we've seen with the Timberwolves historically. Karl Anthony Towns was a superstar for a year, and then what happened? Right.
Of course.
Kevin Love was a superstar for a year, and then what happened? Right.
Of course.
That's the Timberwolves' nature. I agree with you. He's been playing without this winning mentality, but at the same time, every single, I think, for the most part, player other than maybe your KDs and your Stephs and stuff like of those nature, every other guy looks at LeBron like, oh my God, this is a lot of people consider him the greatest basketball player of all time. I don't personally, but that's irrelevant. They do. And it's like and he's putting up MVP numbers. In fact, if the Lakers were in the 6th or 7th spot in the West right now, he'd probably be sitting up at number 1 or 2 or 3 in the MVP conversation. But because they're sitting at 13, he's not going to get a look for it. But he's putting up MVP numbers. So it's like you're looking at, oh my God, I get to go play with arguably the greatest player of all time, who has carried one of the trashiest rosters in NBA history to an NBA Finals, who's putting up better numbers this year than he even did in that 06 season with the Cavaliers. And I go back home where I never wanted to be left, where I never wanted to leave anyway. You know what I mean? I think this is going to rejuvenate him. He's going back where he never wanted to leave. Remember how upset he was that he got traded from LA for Brook Lopez? Like he never wanted to leave.
I mean, he didn't have a right to be upset. He was playing like trash and snitching on people.
All right, let me cut in real bit. I know this is getting deep, but we got Drey. I want him to what's going on in Golden State, because I know we've been talking about the Lakers going on to the Minnesota Timberwolves and D'Angelo Russell and stuff like that. What's going on in Golden State?
It's typical Golden State nature. It's the first half of the season. Curry's out, of course, with that injury that he just had. So, which is good. I'm glad he had it this early instead of late in the second half of the season, because we will need him in the second half. But it's the typical usual, especially when you're coming off an NBA championship. You have issues going on in the locker room first half starting off with Draymond Green, which you already know from me from up front. I don't like how that went at all. Then it's just the same thing as usual. It's always been that way. My thing is just they just have to get it right. Get it right. They'll be all right.
I have a question. So I have a question for you, Drey, because I've been thinking about this, and I know we talked about this pretty much at length before the season started. As far as the chemistry, a lot of times I think that the chemistry of a team is really proven when you look at their road record, because teams have to be really, really connected on the road, going into a hostile environment, especially when you're a championship team and everybody's going to give you their best shot. My question is, do you think that Draymond and Jordan Poole situation has directly affected the team to the point where they aren't very good on the road because they're not as well connected? Because there was a point where they hadn't won a road game in the season.
Yeah. And with that, I agree. It has.
Drey, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
In my opinion, what's going on with the Warriors is that they don't want to admit to themselves that Klay is no longer Klay. Those injuries really took a toll, and he was able to make it work a little bit last year, but he is not. Those injuries have slowed him down more than they would have for his age. You got ACL and Achilles. I mean, those are two horrible injuries, and they happen back to back. And so he's not as explosive as he once was. He's not the defender that he once was. And he always used to be able to get open and score all his points without having to dribble the ball. But now teams are guarding him differently because he can't really move the way he used to be able to move. And he's become extremely less effective. and I don't think he scares people anymore.
I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I don't
that.
agree.
I don't want to. I don't
agree.
want to go that far. I don't want to go that far. I get what you're saying, Sam. I really do, and I understand that too because injuries like that it take a toll on the person's body. I mean, look at KD. Like it changes the way how you play. I don't want to go that far because this is the same Clay that can get 30 points, 40 points in 1 or 2 quarters.
Look at the Suns game.
Exactly. Like he can still get hot regardless. So he's still feared upon as a player on that court and as a shooter. So I have no question with that. I just think right now it's more of they're trying to find their bearings with all of them. So whatever they have to do to get right, whether it's do better on defense or better just be in better positions to score the basketball, make better plays, make better decisions. That's normally how that goes. I trust the coaching staff with Steve Kerr, so I'm hoping that they see that too. Just like how you were mentioning, I know Steve Kerr sees that as well. But I don't think even he would say we won't go that far because Clay is still going to be killer Clay at the end of the day.
I would say, go ahead, Snake.
Oh, just a quick thing to that. I was going to say before the injury, Clay was averaging consistently 48% shooting from the field. Since his injury, he's down to 42. So you have a 6% drop in scoring efficiency since his injury. And I mean, that
I think it's deeper than stats.
I think it's deeper than stats. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. But either then, 6%. I mean, okay. That's cool.
Drey, here's my thing. I watched Clay as a player this year that was pressing because he saw that his team needed an emotional lift and was reeling from that Jordan Poole and Draymond situation. And what happened was I saw Clay taking a lot of bad shots that he wouldn't usually take. I think that is part of the reason why his field goal percentage has gone down. I really think that is the culprit because Clay looked at that situation and said, well, we have these two guys that probably not even really talking to each other right now. Steph has to carry this load, but he's injured. So now I have to go back to being Clay, but without Steph. So now it's something that he's not used to. And on top of that, he came off an injury, so he can't really ease back into his,
it takes time.
I think that's part of what it is as far as his efficiency dropping. That's why I say a lot of times stats can lie or not tell the whole story about a guy's season. Because, I mean, if you look at LaMelo's playing with a team this year. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, LaMelo took a step back this year. His team took a step back. We got Miles Bridges who had that domestic situation. So he's not on the team anymore. I think there are a lot of guys on the Hornets that are just kind of thinking they're secure in their spot right now and they're just kind of chilling out. I saw Steve Clifford shoot him out and talk about them just straight up not defending. He said offensively is not the issue. The issue is we're not defending. We think we can just outscore people. That is what happens when you have a young team. The other thing is, to go back to Golden State, Wiseman hasn't panned out. Wiseman's out of shape. Wiseman's injury prone.
Exactly.
Kuminga, in the minutes that he's played, hasn't been as productive as he was when he could play that role. And, I talked to Drey about this last year, tonight. How are these young guys going to do when it's their time to step up, right? When Steph's minutes are motored back, right, to save him for the playoffs somewhat. How are these young guys, Moses Moody, Kuminga, Wiseman, how are they going to step up and help you win games when your minutes go down? And right now, we're kind of seeing it.
Yeah.
We're kind of seeing it. And yes, without Steph completely, it's hard, right? But, these are guys that Golden State banked on to be the cornerstones of the future of Golden State. And right now, it's looking like Steph is going to have to play big minutes in the playoffs, big minutes when he comes back to kind of secure a pretty good, standing in the playoffs. And Clay is putting unneeded pressure on himself right now to keep this team afloat as the main offensive option. Which
it shouldn't be needed for Clay. I'd rather have Clay to just be Clay and just be himself and just, ease into what he can do, what he's good at. And I see all of that too with these new players, with this talent that we have and this young core. Which is why I always say it goes down to just them learning. With them being younger, you just got to learn how to go through the punches of the season. Yes, they won a title last season. Okay, cool. But everything changes the following year. Teams start to pick up on how you are. Teams start to say, okay, we know we're going to this Golden State the next night. We're going to have to be ready for them consistently. We know Steph, we know Clay, we know Drey, we know Jordan Poole now. Now it's time to, okay, who's the weak group of the bunch right now? Who's the weakest? Who are we gonna attack first? Good, they injury prone. All right, cool. We're gonna bang them up a little bit a couple nights in. Just how that goes. They just have to get used to it and understand what it takes to actually get to the next step, or even if they want to get into a good position for the playoffs.
This is where the Lakers come into play, though, because the West is so wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say in an ideal world that Schneid is absolutely right? Let's say that D. Russ goes and he takes this as an opportunity to lift this team along with LeBron, and they somehow get AD to get out of his little, rut, and they get a top 5 seed. You could be looking at a situation where a lot of these teams that we think are good, Denver, Memphis, what's happening with them right now? And I was high on Memphis.
Yeah.
Golden State, who was supposed to be near the top. Phoenix, who I already told y'all what that was. I made a video about it.
Yeah, you called that one. You definitely called that one.
You called that.
I remember when they lost the finals, I said, don't re-sign this man to that money. And what did they do? They went and said, DeAndre Ayton? Who cares about him? Let's re-sign this 37-year-old point guard. So they're right now looking like traders rather than buyers, right? Or sellers rather than buyers. It's going to be really interesting because if the Pelicans get Zion back, Pelican man might not be too far off. They have all the pieces, right? Yeah. It's just about staying healthy. Brandon Ingram's emerged as a star. Zion, we already know his box office. CJ McCollum is.
They have a nasty starting five. Nasty starting five.
That's a nasty starting five.
Crazy starting five.
A cranky starting five. A cranky bench.
A defensive bench.
Yes. They're just looking to bully dudes, which is what they did to Phoenix. And Phoenix just barely snuck out of that series. So the West is wide open. I think that should be partly, it should make Golden State feel good, but it should also make them feel weary because any of these teams can just up and go on a run
and get hot real quick, especially in the second half.
I think any other big names are going to get traded before tomorrow's deadline, right? We got KD potentially on the move. Mm-hmm. You got Damian Lillard's always is Portland competing? Are they rebuilding? What are they doing? And you got this guy here as he continues to get older and older and older, and they don't look like they're not definitely competing this year. So it's like, trade the man and get something for him or waste his career. Like, what are you doing, Damian Lillard?
He seems like he wants to waste his career. If you listen to him talk,
I know.
I don't want to go anywhere. I mean, look, man.
All right.
Are the Bulls going to clean house? Like, the Bulls.
That's been a long talk.
That's been for a while. Yeah. Like, and if so, what teams are going to grab Levine and DeRozan and Vucevic, and where are they going to go?
I got to go back to the Lakers real quick. How do you fuck that up? You had DeMar DeRozan.
Oh yeah. They thought that.
Go ahead, Snake.
They thought that he and LeBron had too much of a similar play style.
And so did Wade and LeBron.
I know. I agree.
Oh my God.
I agree.
Bro, it's so crazy to me that DeMar DeRozan became one of the best players in the league that year statistically, basically because he had a better team around him that wasn't full of frauds like Toronto had, right? Meanwhile, you're saddled with Russell Westbrook, who can't play on the box the way that DeRozan can, can't play on the foul line extended the way he can, can't get a bucket towards the end of the game. And now DeRozan, it's like both of them made terrible decisions, but DeRozan's decision was better at the time because we didn't know Lonzo's knee was what it was. But, it's just like, it's crazy to think, like, I was talking up the Bulls big time when I was like, damn, they got Lonzo, Vucevic, Levine, DeRozan. They were looking like the next big thing in the East, and now they're looking like sellers, too. They're looking like they want to get rid of everybody. Levine.
They were in talks trying to get rid of Caruso. That's what I heard. But
Championship piece.
I was like, yo, you crazy if you give up.
The Lakers will take him in a heartbeat.
Not even that. Shit. I don't even want to go back to the Lakers. Bring the Golden State.
You know who he's going to end up with. You know who will get him, right? You know Milwaukee will get him.
Yep.
And then we'll be talking about Milwaukee getting healthy with Chris Middleton. And we'll be talking about them playing party poopers in the East, because right now it looks like the Celtics are going to, sleepwalk to the finals, which I also said, thankfully, they're making me look good about that right now.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Go
ahead.
He's looking good.
I'm about to say, because no one's talking about the Wizards. I'm over here looking at another season where they start off hot and everything's looking promising, and then it just all falls apart. Where it starts with injuries, and then the fact that they can't play defense.
Just trade
Beal.
Just trade Beal, bro.
Get him out of there.
He needs somewhere to be, y'all. He needs somewhere to help him.
The sad thing about the Wizards that I've watched through many years is that the only thing it seems like they miss is playing defense. And the last time they played defense was when Paul Pierce was there for 1 year, 1 season. It seemed like John Wall, Bradley Beal, Otto Porter, and them were playing defense. And then, I don't know, it seems like with teams in the Washington area, they tend to fall, like the management and the coaching staff seem to fall victim to the fans screaming, "Oh, we need more offense. We need more offense. We need to be like Golden State at the time," which didn't work. We had one of the worst records the following season. And then it was just like, okay, what are we going to do? Okay, we're going to continue to build around John Wall. We're going to make Beal the main feature. And then Bills and I talked about this on a prior podcast where it was just like, okay, if you trade John Wall, that's going to be it. I'm like, there's really nothing you can do with Beal. You can't pair him with anybody else that would. I'm like, that Westbrook was decent. I mean, he was a walking triple-double, but he couldn't shoot. And it was exposed in that first round of the playoffs against the 76ers. The 76ers was like, you know what? You can shoot all you want.
They literally let that man just say, yeah, go ahead, bro.
But you know what was exposed in that first round that led to a certain superstar's downfall? Ben Simmons.
Oh,
the fact that he could not shoot a free throw, and that started his mental collapse on the court in front of a live audience in their biggest moments.
You brought up something that's really been annoying me, and I've been waiting for the podcast to bring this up. I think this is the perfect podcast. I'm going to talk about this on my podcast eventually, too. And I'm glad Drey is in here, because this is something I've been wanting to talk about the Warriors. It really pisses me off. I remember Charles Barkley's dumbass, right? Now, this is before I knew Drey. This is before I was talking to DJ, way before I knew Schneid. I would hear Charles Barkley, "There'll never be a jump shooting team to win a championship. Never be a jump shooting team to win a championship," right? And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, they're not a jump shooting team. You really don't get the dynamics of their offense. If you're calling Golden State a jump shooting team, you really don't get it, right?
Exactly.
So, fast forward to 2015, they win the championship. Everybody's shocked. Oh my God, I can't believe it, right? And I'm just sitting there like, you motherfuckers really don't get it. Stephen Curry, before he was a knockdown shooter, if you watch that run in college, he was getting to the rack. He was getting by guys. Okay. He was killing dudes off the dribble.
Don't remind me.
Yes.
Because my team fell victim to Davidson in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they
I was pissed. And it would always happen in the second half.
Of course.
I remember.
But
saw that
Drey,
whole game.
but correct me if I'm wrong, Drey. This is what was holding back Stephen Curry. Mark Jackson had Stephen Curry on the ball too much.
Yes.
Side pick and roll, Stephen Curry. Pick and roll at the top, right? So you always knew where Stephen Curry was.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Once you move Draymond to the 4, you bring Iggy off the bench, and you have Harrison Barnes on the box, those guard post-ups were a lot more beneficial. Stephen Curry coming off of screens was a lot more beneficial. It was part of the reason why they beat Cleveland that year, because Cleveland was icing every screen on the sideline, trapping him every time he had the ball in his hands, right? But the point I'm making is, how did Golden State solve that puzzle? They started getting easy baskets at the bucket because Stephen Curry would get trapped. He'd throw it to Draymond. Draymond would be at the foul line, throw a lob, right? Duck it down, bounce pass. They were getting easy buckets. I always say in the playoffs, if you can get 10 easy buckets at the rim that are uncontested off of backdoor cuts or something like that, you're going to win the championship because it's very hard to do. Golden State was never a jump shooting team. We just saw them get hot And because they had the two best shooters in the league, we thought that's all they did. It was not. You want to talk about a jump shooting team? Houston was a jump shooting team. They got their ass whooped by Golden State.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
grief.
you.
They
God, bro.
were a jump shooting
Oh
team.
my God, bro. Bills, I swear to you, if I tell people that I'm wrong, I consistently told people, I was like, Houston is the one team that will be a jump shooting team. These fools
Yes.
shot 27 threes in a quarter and
Mhm.
lost.
Right. They
But they're
were
not
a jump shooting
a jump shooting team. Like, get the
The Golden State Warriors were a great shooting team. They were not a jump shooting team. That was not what they were known. They weren't known as a jump shooting team by the people inside NBA circles. The people who watched Golden State and saw how fluid their offense was and the great passing, it was basically like an updated version of the San Antonio Spurs.
exactly.
Fluid ball movement. You get the best shot available. Stephen Curry is allowed to sometimes take, step back shots off because you have to let him be
Spacing
him,
and
right?
pacing. Spacing and pacing.
Exactly.
Basically was the textbook of San Antonio. And I love the way they play because they played just like that.
And the other thing that got me was Charles Barkley trying to make it seem like defense wasn't a major reason why they were as good as they were. That's another reason why you can get away with taking shots like that sometimes because defensively you're gonna clamp, right?
Exactly.
Everybody talks about Westbrook losing those last 3 games for OKC in that series where they were up 3-1. Let's remember Golden State clamped them up. Almost made Kevin Durant gun shy. He didn't want to shoot. Russell Westbrook started pressing because they weren't getting good shots, and that was all because Golden State was clamping up. When it was time for somebody to get a stop in that Houston-Golden State series, it was Golden State. So let's not forget that. Let's not forget Klay was one of the best defensive twos in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that David West was one of the best defensive power forwards in the league still at that time. Let's not forget that when they had KD, he became one of the best rim protectors in the league out of nowhere. People ignore those things and they watch as casuals, and then they start saying things like, well, Golden State's a jump shooting team. No, we've seen jump shooting teams. Houston's a jump shooting team.
Yep.
The Hornets are a jump shooting team. The Trailblazers, when CJ was there, they were a jump shooting team. You see all these teams that fell in the playoffs? They're jump shooting teams. It is not Golden State. And I hated that stigma because I'm like, look, I'm not a Golden State stan or anything like that. I like Golden State. I love Stephen Curry, right? But at the same time, I just hate when a team is labeled as something because you're trying to diminish what they're doing. You can't diminish what Golden State did during that era. You can talk about injuries. I agree to a certain degree. They were not a jump shooting team. People need to stop saying that. That was not what they were. And, I just wanted to go on that rant. I know how y'all feel about it, but it always pissed me off to hear that,
you're good, Bills, because I was saying the same thing prior years before. Even when we got our first chance into the playoffs and was getting ready to win that championship, I kept telling folks, I said, bro, Cleveland's not going to beat Golden State just by the sheer of how good their talent, not just by talent, just by what they're doing on the court, offense, defensively. Just the way it works. And then constantly people was telling me, oh, no, you got LeBron James. How this going? I'm like, bro, one man cannot beat that team. I don't care who you put in front of him.
No.
Ain't happening.
It took 2 dudes to score 40 3 games in a row to beat them in 2016. And Stephen Curry talked about it on JJ Redick's podcast. He's like, I've never seen 2 guys play like that for 3 straight games. You just got to tip the hat to him in that situation. But that was one of the greatest final series. I wonder how Schneid feels about it. That was one of the greatest final series in my lifetime that I've seen. And I've seen some good ones. Spurs and the Heat in 2013 is pretty good. That 2016 finals, we've not seen since 2 teams that complete offensively, defensively.
Yep.
Both ends. Schneid, how you feel about that?
I feel like Draymond shouldn't have been suspended for Game 6.
We can end the podcast.
I was thinking the same thing.
I agree with that.
We can end it.
I agree with that. I agree with
Jesus
that.
Christ.
That's my thoughts. Like, I feel like I mean that change. I mean that Game 6 that Cleveland won shifted the momentum back to them. Shifted the mentality from Golden State of we got this in the bag to now they're not confident in themselves. And you give props to Cleveland for what they did. And that chase down block from LeBron on Iguodala is going to go down in history. It's one of the greatest plays of all time. But I still think taking out the force that Draymond was, at least back then, just setting screens, playing defense, finding open shooters, harassing people. Like, to not have that in there for a game that led it, not that Cleveland would have won it necessarily anyway, but you don't know. And you just take off not only an all-star, but one of their starters.
I hated that.
I didn't like that either.
I didn't like it. As a person cheering for Cleveland, I didn't like it. Still, because Draymond was the heart and soul of everything that team was doing to get under Cleveland's skin, right? Because the very next game, Kevin Love played pretty well, right?
Yeah.
And Kevin Love was pretty much neutralized with Draymond because he wasn't used to that physicality on a consistent basis in the post. He was used to the pick and pops, and then if he wanted to play back to the basket, they were getting the ball really deep in the post, and he kind of just turned around and put the ball in the basket, right? But with Draymond was fighting him on the box, so he couldn't really get any of them clean touches. You know, that was the main thing that Draymond was doing, but he was also getting in Cleveland's head just as far as the trash talking on it, so I definitely agree. But, I mean, shit, you want to talk about an actual screw job. Let's go back to the 2010 finals. Kobe shot 7 for 25, ended up with damn near 30 points. And the Celtics, who were, to me, the best team in basketball that season, gave up a 13, 14-point lead in like 3 minutes. They were blowing the whistle on everything.
But at the same time, first thing I want to just say, one other thing I hate about the 2016 finals that also kind of goes to, you take Draymond out for a game, you let Cleveland get back in it, they win. I hate it, not because Cleveland won, that franchise deserves to win. I would have rather had they won like a year that Kevin Love went down or something like that instead. But the reason I hate specifically that year is because it led to freaking KD leaving to go and go sign with 2 other superstars and make the biggest bitch move in basketball history.
Now,
if the Warriors, if the Warriors win that series that year, KD does not go to Golden State. That doesn't happen.
Okay, Schneid, you know what?
That doesn't happen.
Here we go. Let's do this.
Draymond doesn't call him crying in the parking lot. Oh my God, we just lost 3-1. We just blew a 3-1 lead, bro. We need you so bad.
We'll check it.
I want to hear what Dre has to say about this.
Okay. Because I knew this was gonna go there. I knew this was gonna go there. This was gonna go there. So let me get my sip of water. Let me get this right.
Here we go.
Because I have a whole. I think I'm gonna agree with what Dre is saying. Go ahead.
So listen. Do I agree with Schneid's point? To a fault, yes. To a fault. The reason why I say that, because I said that too. If Cleveland did not win, and we won, we would have never got KD. I do agree with that part. Do I like the team that we had before KD? Yes, because we were a stacked team. But adding KD made it even better, to me.
For you. But is that good for basketball?
Yes, it was.
No.
In a way, yes. No,
yes, it was.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Yes,
Dre.
it
I'm
was.
going to talk after.
Yes, it was.
I'm with Schneid on this one.
Yes, it was. Because, no one was complaining when LeBron did it with Dwayne Wade.
I was.
He got dragged through the mud.
Outside of you. It don't matter. No. Dwayne Wade was Dwayne Wade not an all-star and an NBA champion?
Yeah, go ahead,
yes,
Dre.
He was.
Okay. Was Chris Brock damn near not an all-star?
Yes, he was.
Not a champion.
Not a champion, but he was an all-star. LeBron did it. LeBron got dragged through the mud. They said because you have to remember, this was LeBron's 7 years in the league, right? He was already getting compared to Jordan in some aspects. He had already declared himself the king, got tatted King James on the back of his back, right? And he had all this pressure coming out of high school. And the narrative was Michael won a ring in Chicago without leaving. Kobe won a ring.
Of course he did, because he wasn't allowed to. And I debunked that shit last week when we talked about it. He literally was not allowed to leave. It was a rule against it.
But Kobe was allowed to leave, and he did.
Hold up.
And
Michael,
hold on.
He did trade, but he had already won some before that.
Wait a minute, there was
as a sidekick.
Wait a minute, there was a time
Who
when
cares?
Michael Jordan was coming up on free agency. I don't think it was because he wasn't
96.
allowed to leave.
96.
Because remember, all the they were photoshopping back in the 90s. They had Jordan in the Knicks
Yes.
uniform. They
I remember
had
that.
Jordan in all types of uniforms.
I remember that.
LeBron took so much. I mean, not just the fact that he went and joined a super team, Drey, but the whole sit down interview he did with Jim Gray
Which people didn't have to watch.
Which people didn't have to watch. But I'm just saying the fact that he did it that way, like this huge big announcement of where I'm taking my talents to South Beach, bro. He's been dragged through the mud for that for how many years? 13 years now.
Yeah.
And people dragged him through the mud
So-
for not only going to Miami and pairing up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, but the fact that he only won 2 of 4 and realistically only should have won 1 out of the 4.
You know why they did that?
That is
You know why they
true.
did that, Sinead? This is why they and I've talked about this a lot, and it really annoys me because people are so hypocritical. The reason why they drag LeBron is because, and I've said this a bunch of times, they wanted LeBron to fall short of Jordan's legacy, and when they saw him go to Miami, they saw it become a real possibility that LeBron would win 6 rings. They wanted him to stay in Cleveland and win 1 so they could talk about him like Reggie Miller and Allen Iverson, what could have been, right? Because then they could still have their favorite player up as the greatest of all time. And when they saw that leave their grasp, oh shit, he's gonna win some championships. We were fine when we said, oh, almost LeBron. Well, now it wasn't no almost LeBron. Now it was, oh shit, LeBron going to the finals. There's nobody can fuck with his team the way that it used to be with Jordan, right? That's what happened. They didn't like the fact that the power was going into the players' hands now. They didn't like that shit. They didn't like that shit either. Here's the issue.
Yeah.
Here's the hypocrisy, right? And I talked to this with Smitty. I talked about this with Smitty. And Smitty disagreed, but you can disagree all you want. The facts are the facts. KG had no trade clause. Ray Allen didn't have to get traded. Ray Allen didn't have a no trade clause, but Seattle wasn't going to trade him. It wasn't even a possibility. KG was traded to the Celtics. Ray Allen was traded to the Celtics. They both basically, in essence, forced their way out.
Didn't Ray Allen
Kevin-
sign in free agency?
Ray Allen signed in free agency when he planned on signing back because he saw that there was a super team forming in Boston.
But the Boston super team is a super team, but not the same level of what you had in Miami.
How?
Because KG was a 15-year vet, a 14-year vet. He came in a 12-year vet. Sorry, he was 12 years. KG came in 96. This happened in 2008, so he's been in the league for 12 years. LeBron was.
He
in
was
years
a
prior.
high schooler. That doesn't. Well, I mean, so okay. So KG, Kevin
Ray Allen
Garnett-
came in 96 too.
Yes.
So you
But
have 2
here's-
players that are
Mhm.
30. You have 2
Yep.
players that are 30 on their
Mhm.
big 3. In Miami, every single player, Dwayne Wade was the oldest one there. Bosh came
Yeah.
in young. LeBron was
Mhm.
20. LeBron was 25. Bosh was 26. Dwayne Wade was like 28.
When do you
So-
reach your prime?
In mid-20s.
28 is when they claim you reach your athletic prime. They were 2 years outside of the athletic prime, putting up gaudy stats, starting an All-Star game.
And the Heat had 2 of their players that were 2 years before they were going to reach their prime even.
Okay,
So they were going to
But-
hit their peak with Miami.
but they were
so-
playing against. But they were playing against the super team. Who was
did
Boston
the-
playing against? Boston
Nobody.
ended up. So what's worse? Putting together a super team to beat the super team that already exists, or putting together a super team because all your teams are trash, so you want to get together while y'all still have
What?
all of your all-star potential and a point guard that was a budding star already and a fucking choke artist coach who all of a sudden is looked at as a great coach because he got 3 guys that were all having a chip on their shoulder, young and still could play. That's why they all averaged 20 that year.
There's other differences you're not taking into account.
Like,
Okay, so Boston's big 3, they already had Rondo, they already had Paul Pierce, right? And then they traded for KG, and then they
Yep.
signed Ray Allen a free
they
agency.
traded an entire team for KG. Good.
Yep, they did. And the Timberwolves turned that into Kevin Love, by the way. But
They did.
but anyway, what with the Miami situation, which everyone completely ignores, is they so focus on the big 3. Okay, they signed LeBron in free agency. They signed Chris Bosh in free agency. But they also signed Ray Allen in free agency. They also
2013.
signed. They also
That was 2013.
they still did it. Did he
Wait,
not
no, what?
save?
No.
He's the whole reason they have a championship.
Snight.
Ray Allen
First
off that
off-
roster, take a ring away.
Well, they already had a ring before Ray Allen came.
Take
But-
one ring away if not Ray Allen
Okay.
is there.
Okay,
Mike
but this
Miller,
is one of
Rashard
but this is-
Lewis.
Hold on,
They
Schneid. I hear
signed-
you. Schneid, I hear you. But stop for a second. You criticized Kevin Durant and
I
called
didn't
that a
criticize
bitch move.
Durant. No, I did not say.
You
Kevin
should have
Durant.
said it was
Yes,
the
okay.
biggest bitch move.
Yes. Do you know why? Because
Hold
I'll tell you why though. I'll tell you why
Mhm.
before you answer, so you can say why. Because I hated the Miami Big Three move. Drey hated it too. You know who else hated it and tweeted that they hated it? KD. He said, "Stop teaming up and let's go beat these fools." He tweeted that he hated it and then he did it.
So here's my thing. If that is your basis to why you hate it, I can agree with that. But this is why I'm going to tell you to everybody else to call it a bitch move. Basketball-wise, you can't criticize Miami, or you can't criticize Golden State and not criticize Miami, which some people like to do, right? So they talk about the fact that, and you just said it, Miami signed Ray Allen, which was 2 years after they got together, right? Do people remember what happened with that year that KD signed the first year? Their depth was all gone, which means that Kevin Durant, and here's the other thing, right? I could even give you a pass on your hate, not you, but people in general, their hate for Kevin Durant going there if he didn't, I don't know, win finals MVP's place. He didn't go there to ride along. He went there to be the best player on the team that was already formed, and he already said it was a basketball decision. He wanted to stop being double teamed. He didn't want to be double teamed no more. He didn't want to fight over shots with Russell Westbrook. That is why he said he went there. I have to take that man at his word because that's how he played.
How
They
many,
said,
how
"Oh
many,
shit,
how many MVPs had Steph won at that point?
2."
Exactly. He's joining an MVP. He joined an MVP. What he did was worse than what LeBron did. LeBron didn't go join no MVP.
I don't think either situation is necessarily bad, but I'll say it was, I guess, technically worse
So
than Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Good.
No, because I know you're a big LeBron fan. Do you have an
am.
actual NBA team, or do you just root for whoever LeBron's on? Because I know you rooted for
I
the
root for a lot
Cavaliers.
of different teams.
Actually,
No, but
his
I don't
his
have
team
one
is the
team.
Miami Heat.
So do you actually have
no,
a
don't do that shit.
No, did you just
I
no?
disowned
You
him.
said
I
your
disowned
team.
him.
Oh, you disowned them now? Wait a minute. When did this happen? No,
DJ
your
did
team
that
was the
shit.
Miami Heat. all of a
First
sudden.
off,
I know
I
you.
knew that was
You're
coming.
gonna have to go back to my old Twitter,
I knew that
and
was
Drake
coming.
can attest to this. Did I not say I was not a Miami Heat fan no more when I saw that they finally traded Hassan Whiteside? And
Yeah,
I
you
said
did.
they shouldn't have re-signed him in the first place. Now, did I not do that? You remember that? How does DJ not? So no, Miami is not my team. I
So
don't
do
have
you
a
have?
team.
Do you don't have a team?
I don't
Okay,
have
so
a
that's
team.
that's
No.
why your mentality is different. When you
it's
actually
not.
have a favorite team that you root for, and it's not based on your favorite players, right?
It's
To
not gonna
have-
be different.
It's going to be different because it's
My
in
fandom's not
your-
based on LeBron.
your-
I don't even cheer for the Lakers more than I cheer for everybody else.
So the problem is though, you don't have a favorite. My point is, where do you live?
I live in Boston.
Okay,
I
so
cheer,
let's
I cheer
just
for
say
the Celtics.
let's
man.
just say Celtics. Let's just say the Celtics were actually your favorite team. Okay,
Yep.
if the Celtics were your actual favorite team, then you would dislike what these super teams were doing
No,
because that means your team ain't gonna have a chance at
No.
winning a title.
but no, because here's the thing. I look at it from a perspective of I'm a fan of a team. Why would I be mad because another team is doing what they're supposed to do, which is putting together the best team to beat my team?
But
Why would I'm not. See, the thing is, tonight, and I know we don't talk a lot, so you're not really like, you don't really know how to look at sports. DJ does. I'm not a typical sports fan. I don't
That's why
look
we're
at.
all
I don't.
here.
I don't look at shit as detrimental to my team, so it's fuck shit. I don't do that. And that's why I looked at the Kevin Durant situation differently. I'm a fan of basketball first. I'm a fan of football first. I'm not a fan of a team first. I'm not a fan of a player first. If I see that Kevin Durant in the last 3 games of a series is fighting over shots with Russell Westbrook, and he says, I want to go to Golden State where I have shooters around me and don't have to fight over the ball, I'm going to say that's a great move because he's choosing to work somewhere else. I'm not going to get into the bitch shit and all this other. That's for other people to do. I'm looking at a dude that chose somewhere else to work and got vitriol for it. That's just me. Now, if you want to start talking about legacy and all that stuff,
Nope.
that's different. But let's remember, Golden State also got rid of all their depth to bring in Kevin Durant, and it paid off.
Yep.
And Kevin Durant had to carry that load because of that. So it's not like they took Kevin Durant and put him onto the Golden State Warriors. No, the Golden State Warriors got rid of their depth to bring Kevin Durant, and so it became a completely different dynamic as it was. He wasn't even playing with the same Golden State team.
The problem is, though, right? Here's the problem. So I 100% agree with you as far as you said you can't hate on a team building their roster. And I agree with you in this sense. The big three Boston Celtics, they built their roster, right? They traded for Kevin Garnett, who wasn't asking to be traded, and they signed Ray Allen in free agency. LeBron and Chris Bosh. Oh, yeah, what?
This is one thing I want to say about this tonight. If I was going to say that there was one thing that was bad and malicious and bullshit, I would say it was that, because Kevin McHale, who has allegiance to the Boston Celtics, essentially traded a piece that caused the super team shit to start and traded him knowing that the domino piece that was next was Ray Allen. I think that's more so fuck shit than players when you literally are saying, fuck this franchise I work for. Here's KD. Here's KG.
Yep. And so
give him away for a bunch of peanuts.
And I'm not blaming LeBron for this, but ultimately, because he wasn't the first to do it, it was the Boston Big Three, even though they did it the right way. They did the team building, right? Yeah, so this is not LeBron's fault. He wanted to win a ring, and he was sick of being able to get free agents to come to Cleveland the first time around, right?
Amari Stoudemire, who they didn't want to trade for.
God. Yep. Who'd they have to trade for him, though? All their first-round collateral.
Phoenix was all in.
Yeah.
Phoenix was all in.
But what happened is, even though it was the Boston that started it, it was LeBron's move that people took notice to, right? So LeBron is going to be credited for the big three. And again, the Heat didn't do anything wrong, Billy. So like when I say they had free agent cap space, they signed Chris Bosh, they signed LeBron. And the Warriors built their team the proper way. They drafted Steph, they drafted Clay, they drafted Draymond, and they had free agent. They had enough cap room to sign KD. I have no problem with that, other than I hate the fact that when you go into the NBA season, you're like, okay, maybe 4 teams can win the title. Whereas before this all happened, you could look at it and be like, there's potentially 8 or 9 teams that could compete for a title, right? But what happened? Well, hold on, I'll circle back. I'll circle back. But the problem is when KD did it, right? Even though he did it, he was a free agent and he signed. What happened is, and he won titles. Then what you saw start happening immediately with superstars the very next year. They wanted to do super teams, but they didn't want to wait till they were free agents. So now it's not teams building super teams the way that the Heat and the Warriors and the Celtics did it.
I see
they players started forcing their way out. Kawhi immediately said, I want out of San Antonio, goes to Toronto, finishes the year there. He said he wanted out.
Yeah,
he said he wanted out.
But it wasn't a super team.
No.
Misdiagnosed.
He couldn't get to where he wanted to go because he didn't have control. So he went to where he wanted to go after he played his year in Toronto.
He was misdiagnosed. That's why he wanted out of San Antonio originally. He was misdiagnosed for an injury they tried to force him to play through.
But who else decided they wanted to just leave? Kyrie decided he wanted to just leave. James Harden decided he wanted out of where he was at.
Oh yeah, Kyrie, I give you that.
I'm talking superstars.
James Harden's a bitch. Good.
Kyrie, I'm talking superstars, right? So Kyrie, James Harden, Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant has requested trades and then rescinded trades again already. We're talking and Kyrie just did it again, right? So we're talking ever since these little teams have happened, now all these superstars are requesting trades and demanding trades that they used to not do. And it's like you have free agency, you go to where you go and you play out your contract, and it's like you got to trust the team to build the team around you, but they're not even doing that. Now players are demanding trades.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is it not an indictment on the organizations that players have decided that they would rather trust other players to build a team than a GM? Because I think it is.
The Brooklyn Nets had a roster that they built around KD, and they traded for James Harden. That's who they wanted. right?
I
that
don't
Kyrie,
think those two wanted him, if I'm completely honest.
I mean, the rumors were that they wanted him. So because the Kyrie and KD planned to sign together. They were looking at New York and they decided to go Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
They were both in the same free agent class. They went to go team up together. And
With
then they
DeAndre
wanted
Jordan, remember?
Yep, and with DeAndre Jordan, they all planned that to create their own super team. And then they wanted James Harden. And then they didn't like their coach. So guess what? They got another coach. And then suddenly it wasn't working out so well, so they traded James Harden. James Harden was supposed to be the fall guy. And then that didn't work out so well, so then they traded Kyrie again. So it's like, you look at the Nets situation, they literally did every single thing the players wanted, and it still didn't work out. So the players are like, no, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. At what point does it fall on the players? How do you have a roster of Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant that did not even make it to the Eastern Conference Championship?
So here's the thing I would say about this, about the James Harden situation. I don't believe they wanted James Harden there, and I'll tell you why. I watched them play in preseason and the supporting cast that they had around them with DeAndre Jordan, because let's be honest, if they were planning for James Harden to be traded there, I think they would have not brought in DeAndre Jordan along for the ride initially. They did, and they actually took less money so that he could get the money he wanted. I don't think they wanted James Harden there. I think James Harden wanted out, and I think because James Harden wanted out, the best trade partner for what they could get back was going to involve the Brooklyn Nets, because the Brooklyn Nets still had a lot of assets that were valuable assets, along with getting Kevin Durant and Kyrie in free agency, which made it such a great pickup. Now, after that, a lot of the stuff that you spoke about, I do agree with, but here's the issue. Here's where Kyrie got sideways. The Nets started negotiating in bad faith with Kyrie, which made Kevin Durant want out, because he knew Kyrie wanted out. Kyrie came this year. Other than that documentary bullshit, which I'm not even going to get into because that was completely ridiculous, he played well. They refused to offer him a max contract without putting the championship as a stipulation. So he said, I want out. The thing with Kyrie Irving is, a lot of people bash Kyrie Irving for wanting out of certain teams, but what they don't look at is the fact that at the time that he's saying that shit's good and he wants to stay forever, shit is good. And if something changes that doesn't involve him.
So why do you want to leave Cleveland? What was wrong with Cleveland?
He wanted to leave Cleveland. He said why he wanted to leave Cleveland. He wanted his own team. Then, when he went to Boston and found out how hard it was to lead men, he admitted that he was wrong. Then, he got injured, and all the young dudes started to get the big head and think, we can win without Kyrie. Terry Rozier starts complaining about minutes. They pushed Kyrie out. So Kyrie said, fine, I'll leave. Went to Brooklyn. James Harden starts bitching about their offensive system. They get James Harden out of there. Okay, cool. Then they started whining about how Kyrie was operating with this whole documentary thing after the vaccine thing, which was something that nobody saw coming. A vaccine, you can't predict as an NBA team a pandemic, but they hold that against him. So then when he came back, the documentary shit happened. Then Joe Tsai basically acted like, this is a runaway slave that they captured back, and he's, put him out in front of the rest of the slaves and say you're sorry. That's basically what they did to Kyrie. And then he played well. And then he said, okay, cool. I played well. I did what y'all wanted me to do. I apologize. Where's my contract extension? Well, we'll give you a contract extension. We'll give you max, but in the last year, if you haven't won a championship, it's not guaranteed and we can cut you. He said, all right, fine, let me go. I'm not going to risk injury here when there's max money on the line. Mm-hmm. So all these situations, people blame Kyrie, but it's really because at this point they want to blame Kyrie. And I talked to somebody about this yesterday. Nobody was talking shit about Kyrie before that pandemic. And you can't tell me I'm wrong. Nobody was saying shit about Kyrie before that pandemic.
Well, shoot, there was a lot of people that weren't talking shit before this pandemic, and it's just like you hear the thoughts of certain players and you see the actions of certain players, then all of a sudden everybody has a different tune for the wrong reason.
That pandemic made everybody look back at situations and start thinking differently about them, right? Because before that, nobody talked about the Boston situation. It's like, great. Oh, Kyrie and KD teaming together, that's great. And then when the pandemic happened, they said, oh, yeah, Kyrie is a weirdo because this and that. Well, you weren't saying that before the vaccine. So the thing is, Schneid, you make some really good points. And I agree with a lot of them, but some of them I disagree with. But this isn't directed towards you. This is in general. I think the issue is some of these players, they get the stigma on them. And me being in Boston, I saw what happened with Kyrie. I went to 3 games that year. I saw the chemistry issues. I saw Terry Rozier pouting on the bench. because he wasn't getting the minutes that he felt like he should have got over Kyrie, despite the fact they wouldn't have even been in position to win a championship the year before that without Kyrie.
Mm-hmm.
And the proof is in the pudding. They went and they lost to Cleveland, who didn't have nobody. They had a washed-up Jeff Green and Chetty Osman.
Wait a minute, hold up. Let's just. Jeff Green is not washed up. Let's just throw that in there. But he can still dunk on people at his age.
In spurts, and athletically spurts.
Right. Like, he still has the athleticism, but he's not Jeff Green from...
He's a Georgetown Hoya forever.
I know, that's why you...
Now, the only one you can dunk on is Hibbert. That trash can is no longer... That's why he couldn't last in the NBA after a certain time period, because all of a sudden he became a trash can. His footwork all of a sudden was trash.
That's what you call a bust. That's what you call a bust right there.
No, you know you call a bust? Hasheem Thabit is who you call a bust. Hasheem Thabit is who you call a bust. But no, so... I saw the whole thing with Kyrie happen, and I'm like, yo, these young dudes really think they can win without Kyrie? Y'all gonna find out. They ain't won shit since. They made it to the finals, but that was the first year they got over the hump without Kyrie. Kyrie looked a lot more right than they did. Then the pandemic happened, and now all of a sudden Kyrie's a weirdo, Kyrie's a this, Kyrie's a that. It's just crazy to me that now Kyrie has this stigma when, we don't know whether he wants to play basketball. Bro, like, the things that people come up with is just like, it's wild to me. And, this is what I want to transition to, because this is a really good conversation. I want to talk about something that I talked about another time, which is illegal defense. Because a lot of people talking about, I've been playing my eras, and I can't find illegal defense called in my eras, even though they claimed it was, they claimed it was supposed to be in my eras, but I can't get it to illegal defense.
That 2K bullshit.
Right. We're gonna capture the essence of the old school, bruh. I was taking defenders and backing them into the paint on purpose, and they weren't calling illegal defense. So this is what I was gonna ask you, Snight, about illegal defense. Because I talked to Drey about this before, and I talked to DJ about this. Do you think that? And we're not talking about hand checking. Do you think the defense, as far as when illegal defense was a thing, do you think that schematically it was better or worse than now?
I think, can I answer your question with kind of another question?
Yeah.
I think illegal defense, are you asking like, schematically, like in today's NBA, if it was allowed again?
As far as eliminating superstars from killing you.
Yep. Okay. So I think illegal defense would have way less of an impact if it was brought back in today's NBA game compared to hand checking.
I think illegal defense was what caused a lot of those big games to happen.
Hand checking was removed in early 2000s.
Yes.
Remember,
I want to say early 2000s.
In the 90s, right? If you go back and watch 90s games, not playoff games, just 90s games, and you can find them on YouTube, guys used to pick up the ball and guard them all the way up the court, right? You used to guard guys, you used to just on them, right? And not only that, you could control how they moved and everything like that. And so obviously the NBA is way more athletic now. People can shoot a lot more. But how much easier is it to defend against shots and control people go if you're allowed to put your hand on them, right? The NBA removed or got rid of hand checking because you had a lot of NBA games where the final scores were like 78-76. And even though the games were good, there wasn't enough scoring in the NBA's opinion. So that's what they did with hand checking. And so what I always think is something people don't give credit for to these players in the 90s, is they scored and did what they did against hand checking. Whereas, but
because of illegal defense, you could not pre-rotate to them. So they were basically on an island playing one-on-one basketball unless you outright double team them.
Which is, but at the same time, people also wanted to play defense because you could do that, right? You don't, man. I watched that Thunder OKC game last night. I had to tweet, "Where's the Is this how every NBA game is?" People were literally shooting warm-up jump shots in the game because nobody was trying to get out and contest it. Why?
I agree with you. The effort during the regular season as far as defense is
there's no effort. And it's like, why is there no effort? They're resting. They're taking games off. Why aren't you resting? Why aren't you playing hard? I mean, it's like teams' mentality is pack the paint. We'll let you shoot. And we're not even going to try. And it's like, I miss the days where, and even though hand checking was removed in the early 2000s, right? Mm. Kobe, T-Mac, and even LeBron's, like I would say up until the 2010 season. Mm-hmm. No, I take that back. Up through the Heat, the LeBron's 4-year run in Miami. Defense was still being played. When the Warriors started to win their titles is when defense stopped getting played. In my opinion. Go back and look at the box scores. Go back and look at it. You'd still have games end without making it even into triple digits. Now, what the Thunder just beat Boston tonight? They scored 140 points. Teams are scoring 100 points at the end of the third quarter, and you can ramp up the intensity somewhat in the postseason, but not that much. I mean, teams are still scoring 110 in the NBA Finals.
But Schneid, there were. For the entire 70s, teams were all averaging 100 points.
Yep.
So I think it's less about rules as far as perimeter defense. I want to go back to legal defense because I don't think people truly want to see a legal defense in today's NBA. Now, you talked about how great the defense was back in the 80s. If you bring back hand checking, you bring back illegal defense, you're going to have teams like Golden State that are going to have Stephen Curry on a fucking island against somebody, and they're going to try that hand checking shit, and they're going to get blown by.
I'd rather see that.
Yeah, but you're going to see guys scoring more points now than they did because you're not. The thing about
if you bring back both of them, this is the thing that I say all the time about hand checking because people die in that hell of hand checking. I see these guys play pickup and guys are hand checking them, and they're still dominating. And that's against NBA players. I don't think that hand check is going to have nearly the impact it did when people were less skilled back in the 90s. I think now the issue is if you bring back illegal defense, here's the thing. This is what illegal defense basically was. You had to be within arm's length of a defender if they were above the key. Yep. If you run a 4-out, 1-in, and Stephen Curry's isolating against somebody and you can't pre-rotate, you have to outright double-team him, he's going to score 50 a night. That's the thing. Zone defense, people hate zone defense. Zone defense in that situation of pre-rotating to a guy or basically zoning up on the strong side, it's a must for the guys today. They're too fucking good. Back then, you had teams that were keeping all their players within the three-point line, so illegal defense didn't have as much of an impact because the spacing wasn't what it was. You put illegal defense in today's game, you bring back hand checking, that hand checking shit ain't gonna matter. I'm telling you, that hand checking shit ain't gonna matter. I think it would matter to an extent of you're gonna mess with a player's rhythm, right? They're not gonna get to their spots as easily as they can now.
And they're seeing less bodies.
You're gonna what?
They're seeing less bodies.
No, I know, but you're gonna so okay. So the other thing, you have players just come to court and just huck a shot these days, right? We have people taking a shot from damn near half court. Because again, there's nobody there. No, you bring back hand checking, suddenly players are they might ride them up the whole length of the court again and just mess with the flow of the offense a little bit too. You have to think about that. Hand checking doesn't just apply to the guy who has the ball. Now you're going to be able to do it off ball. You're going to be able to help yourself get around some of these screens a little bit and just disrupt the flow of the offense some. And even if a guy like Steph Curry, they run what'd you say? A 4-out, 1-in, right?
Which is what they naturally run, yeah.
Yep, and you just get Steph Curry on an island against a not elite defender, and he cooks them. and you have that guy at the paint there. If again illegal defense, you got that shot blocker there at the rim, so you're going to force Steph into a mid-range shot.
He's not going to be there. Remember, it's illegal defense. He's not going to be there. So what I'm saying is that big that they're checking is going to be at the opposite box. Steph is going to be in the corner of the wing.
I was saying if they got rid of illegal defense.
Yeah, if they got rid of illegal defense and you added hand checking, that would be to me.
Yeah, that's the scenario the scenario I'm.
But people were saying like, oh, bring back 80s defense. I'm like, okay, you bring back 80s defense. You got to bring back all the 80s defense.
Not 80s.
Not
yeah, I was about to say.
They want that.
People were saying bring back 80s defense. I'm like, you saw a lot of dudes scoring 60 points because look, Dominique Wilkins couldn't dribble with his goddamn left hand. I don't care what everybody tells me. Look, Dominique Wilkins couldn't dribble 10 times straight with his left hand. Okay, he was having big nights scoring because you couldn't. He was on an island. You couldn't help. It was illegal defense. I think they should allow more contact on the perimeter, but they should allow teams to zone up too, and then we would see what happens as far as how skilled these players are. I agree with the lack of physicality 100%, but I think that, illegal defense is something that people don't consider when they start talking about, well, I want to go back to the 80s. I want to go back to the 90s. Why Jordan have 55 in the finals? Because he had an inferior defender on the island against him, and the triangle had him in an ISO every time on the strong side, and he just get the ball, jab, jump shot. Come off the screen, jump shot. And that's back when everybody went under screens too, which made it even worse.
They need to do something to let to let NBA defense do something to stop all these 3-pointers being taken. There's no way you can guard again. You have to pretty much. You're letting people just take just nonstop threes. And I don't care. The FPS play says old school era is dead. And everyone needs. I'm not saying I care about the old school era being back. What I care about is I don't enjoy NBA basketball where they just come down and huck 45 threes. That's not basketball. Okay. I want to see a freelance. I want to see an offense. I like watching people run and get plays open. You don't see that in the NBA, especially in the regular season, man. You see a bunch of ISO and you see a bunch of ISO and people just taking step back threes. And I just don't enjoy that.
I agree with you. I see so many people like I go back and I watch these games because they have so many of these 80s and 90s games on YouTube. And I go back and watch and I see these people comment and talk about how great it was. And I'm like, if you bring these rules into today's game with illegal defense, I guarantee you're going to be talking about 10, 15 dudes averaging 30. It's just what's going to happen. Illegal defense was damaging to the league as far as stopping superstars from getting off. It basically was, hey, you have an inferior defender on the guy? Too bad. Ain't nothing you can do about it. You can straight up bring a double team if you want, but you got straight up
you can switch.
Double. Right. It was
all that.
Yeah, man. It was not like it's not that I don't enjoy 80s basketball to a certain extent, but people they overhype it way too much. They don't take illegal defense into account, and quite frankly, they didn't call illegal defense as much as they could have. It was kind of like holding in the NFL. You can call it every play because teams are like, we're not just gonna let this guy dominate us. We have to cheat over a little bit, but we're not allowed to because illegal defense.
And I want to clarify, I don't want 80s basketball back. I like 90s. I like the 90s. 90s and early 2000s. Even the early 2000s, man. The 2000s, the Spurs, the Detroit Pistons won a finals playing defense. You get this. I mean, the Lakers, all that. I bring that back. That's not in the game. Yeah. I would take that. Screw the 90s. I would take the 2000 2010 NBA, man. And you still had people that were able to. I mean, T-Mac averaged 35, 2 different seasons in that era, right? The good scorers were still going to do their thing, but you didn't have this absurdity. Yes.
The outstanding numbers, the 60 points, two nights in a row, or the
absurd threes that are being taken.
I agree. Okay, I agree.
I agree with what you're saying.
Were dropping. Were they really? Is that fact? I don't.
He said the ratings in the early.
TV ratings.
They were dropping, but the reason was because the Spurs were a boring team and the Pistons were a boring team.
Okay.
So those years
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like 03 to 05, 03 to 05, you could say that.
The finals
Yeah,
numbers
okay,
we're
you can say
watching.
that.
Were the
Yeah.
overall NBA numbers down, or is it just the finals?
Nah, yeah, they
'Cause
were
that's-
because Jordan had just retired again.
Yeah, that was after Jordan retired.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's right.
Okay.
He's right.
So
I
they
mean,
went
but
down for a little bit.
I'm on the same thing though. I want the NFL to bring back DB. The DB's been able to press the wide receivers a little bit more and hand check them and stuff. I want more. The DB, the NFL wide receivers are allowed to just run wide open these days, right? And that's why, it used to be a big deal to throw for 4,000 yards in the NFL. Now it's like you have to. If you don't throw for 4,000 yards, like what's wrong with you? Like they've made passing so easy in the NFL. It's not. It doesn't even feel like it's an accomplishment anymore. Like,
Well, I'll tell you what I have an issue with. I have an issue with the fact that the game is officiated differently during the playoffs, which is why you get a better brand of basketball during the playoffs in the NBA. If they
100%.
officiated and let the physicality that plays out in the playoffs, if they allowed that during the regular season, and they do when it's like a high-profile game, but,
Yep.
I just hate that. It's so inconsistent. And
Well-
people wonder why I say that the NBA is it's rigged.
Well, they also need to start holding refs accountable. And
Yes.
they make enough money.
Oh,
They don't need to
well,
be.
we know
to
why
be
they don't.
fined. They don't need to be
They
fined the way the
almost need to
players
be
do,
checked.
but it needs to be the same percentages.
At least if they're gonna sit there and give these NBA players all these $1,000 fines for,
Yeah,
for
I
the
mean-
littlest stuff ever, then they need to be
Mhm.
fined for
It's like-
not calling this whistle that they did on the other end. How about that? I mean,
And NFL needs to happen too. Those refs make a lot of money. I mean, it's not the same amount as the players, but it's like scale it. If you're gonna find NFL players or NBA players 10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000, then for a ref maybe it's 1,500 or 2,000, depending on the scale. Either way, you got to do it, or you got to suspend them for a game. Like it's a little different for a ref to get suspended. Maybe not. I don't know. Suspend them for a game. Screw it. Say, hey, this ref has been suspended because he missed this call, or he's been fined for missing these calls. Or especially if it's blatant, like
he's been known to do
like
that
LeBron at the
consistently.
end versus
Yeah.
Tatum, that layup, that was blatant.
Yes,
That was blatant, and they did not call it. Like you don't deserve to have your job if you're going to miss that. Like your job is to make sure you get that right, especially when
I think the thing is, unfortunately, and I hate to be this guy, but part of the reason why I believe it's rigged is because they try to suppress the criticism in the media by the players, because it would then turn the attention more so to, if they have a voice that brings up the inconsistent calls, it will then give more credence to the NFL and the NBA being rigged. But because they can't say anything about it, I think that's what leads me to believe that the NBA is rigged. It's the fact they suppress the criticism of the refs, and I've never seen somebody so bad at their job and they never get punished.
Mm-hmm.
Never. You can't look. You can't work at Walmart and keep stocking items in the wrong section, and they don't eventually say, "All right, you can go ahead and go home." Like they just don't show back up.
Don't let Walmart do that. Them motherfuckers give you a raise. Them motherfuckers give you a raise for picking up in the wrong section, bro.
And that's what I'm saying. And
we're gonna promote you and make you the manager all of a sudden.
Exactly.
But Tim Donaghy also is what leads me to believe that the NBA still kind of tinkers with things, because you can't convince me that he was doing that alone and that they aren't still capitalizing off of the fact that they basically said he was a lone guy doing that. When you look at that Lakers and Celtics game, there were a lot of calls that were like, what the hell am I watching right now?
Oh, you know what? Bills, remember we were talking about the Washington Boston series, how
my God.
Each time the team was in their home court, the home court team got the fouls called, and it was egregious. It was just like, okay, we're in Boston. Boston's going to get all the calls. And then all of a sudden we're in Washington. Washington is getting all the calls. And it just ruined it. For me, it was a great series, but it ruined it because it became predictable.
I hate bringing up the rig situation because I've had a lot of people that told me that I've kind of, in a way, ruined sports for them because they started to go and look into it, right? And when they looked into it, they realized that a lot of the stuff that I was saying, I guess, did have some credence to it. But it's impossible for me to watch a series like, okay, I'll give an example. Remember the year Kawhi got hurt in the playoffs with San Antonio because Zaza Pachulia
And they were up
stuck
like
his foot out
30. They were up like 30
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
Warriors at the time.
Yep.
And the next round, right? So Kawhi, well, I'm sorry, the next year, right? So Kawhi was hurt. He had his little knee or whatever injury. And they were playing the Rockets in Houston. James Harden didn't take a shot for the entire second half against a team that Houston should have been blown out. Things like that, it's just like you can't explain them, right? But I remember that series DJ's talking about because, yeah, it was home cooking, right? Both of the teams were good enough to win a game on the road. Make no mistake about it.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't allowed to. they weren't. IT would take 15 free throws at home. John Wall would get 2. Then Washington would go home. John Wall would take 15. IT would get 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I remember, look, when I was a Heat fan, right, in 06, Dwayne Wade taking 20 free throws a game against Dallas. First 2 games, he wasn't getting to the foul line at all. These things stick out. And now that you're allowed to bet on sports, it gives even more credence to it. I'm worried about the Super Bowl because why are the Chiefs such big underdogs?
See, and it's funny because it kind of expands out. Like when I look at the rig situation, I also look at the fact that I go back to, and I'm talking hockey here for a second, when the Capitals won the Stanley Cup. What was also going on was that the Cavaliers getting swept in the finals. And it was just like the NBA couldn't compete for some reason, couldn't compete with the excitement that the NHL was going through with the Capitals winning their first Stanley Cup title. So it was almost like, you know what? It's not worth Cleveland coming back. All right. Golden State can have it for this year or whatever. So they just went about their way. Versus the Spurs and the Heat, when all of a sudden, when the crowd was leaving out, and all of a sudden, all this craziness happened, and Ray Allen hits the shot, and it's just like all of a sudden the ratings shoot back up because all of a sudden now the narrative is, oh, now the fans who left early want to come back into. So like now everything is like, okay, we got to make this interesting. Another one, San Francisco versus the Ravens. The Ravens were beating the hell out of the 49ers.
When the lights went out.
Yes.
When the lights went out, that was crazy.
When the lights went out, all of a sudden San Francisco roared back into the game, but fell short. And then we got that controversy at the end. But yeah.
28-3.
Oh, God.
28-3 should have never happened. 28-3. Look, man, I'm a Tom Brady fan. Obviously.
No. Stan, let's get it right.
No,
let's get it right. Let's get it right.
Don't even do that. I don't stand for a soul on this earth. Maybe Serena Williams. Tom Brady. That was a perfect opportunity for them to ordain Tom Brady as the greatest quarterback of all time after that game. But if people remember that Patriots team that season, they shouldn't have even made the Super Bowl. The Falcons were the best team in football that year. Make no mistake about it. I don't care how much momentum you have in a game. 28-3, and you got a team with bum-ass targets, and all of a sudden they're beating dudes in man that were locked down all year, were locked down against a team like the Packers with all them targets they had?
Well, timeout. They locked down the Packers, but you forget. So, and I know this because I'm a Packers fan. Atlanta got the ball first, drove down, scored. Green Bay got the ball, was driving. Greg Jennings fumbled at like the 40-yard line on a catch and run. Atlanta got the ball, went down, scored again at 14-0. Green Bay took the ball, was driving inside the 20-yard line. Aaron Bukowski fumbled the ball again. Atlanta took it down, and it was instantly up 21-0. They weren't stopping Green Bay. Green Bay was moving the ball against them, but they had 2 turnovers, and suddenly you're down 21-0. And guess what? You can't run your game plan anymore. Now your whole game plan is out of the window. And then Atlanta had some nice pass rushers. And now they know what's coming. They know you're not running the football, and it allowed them just to beat.
But you're making my point.
That's
So
what
you're making my
well,
point. The same thing happened with the Patriots. So why did they come back? But the Packers didn't.
Well, the difference is how many turnovers did Atlanta have in that span? 2, 3.
Atlanta turned the ball over towards the end of the game, but remember,
They had
if they would have ran the
Ryan
ball, they
fumble.
would have just run the clock out.
They had the Matt Ryan fumble. They had a
Yeah.
whole bunch of things. But I think of the bigger conspiracy is the year, was it a year or two later when the Saints should have went to the Super Bowl, but that blatant pass interference where he tackled the guy out of bounds and it let the Rams go to the Super Bowl, where they put up 3 points as the number one offense the entire year. They put up 3 points.
I'd agree with you, except Drew Brees went and choked the game away like he always does in overtime, and they got
Yeah,
the
but he
ball
wouldn't have had to. Shouldn't have never had to make it there.
But he did.
But that was blatant. I'm just saying, though, that was blatant pass interference.
No, I agree with you, but he threw big in overtime and threw the game away, which he always does.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just who Drew Brees is. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be hard on Saints fans, like they can go down. But except Jay Miles, he's cool. But nah, man, I just I notice this stuff and I try to watch sports for what it is, but it's hard because I've just seen it right in front of my face. Like okay, I'll give you an example. You might call me a LeBron stan or whatever for this, but I'm gonna call it out. How does the best player in basketball forget how to attack JJ Barea? Now look,
Dude,
I can understand.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you that it's changed, but at that point in his career, LeBron was still a mental midget.
So when they were down against Detroit in Detroit and he scored 29 in the last 30.
Yep.
Why did that happen?
Because how did he score all those points? He just attacked. But again, that's a different thing. This was the finals, right?
Yeah.
And they were losing in the finals, and he's got all.
They were up 2-0 in that series. Matter of fact, they were up 1-0 when they were up 20 in the second game.
Were they up 2-0? I thought they were.
They were
up
1-0. They were up 1-0. The second game, they were up 20 and gave up a lead.
Uh-huh.
And then from there, he decided not to shoot anymore.
So is there a difference between playing the Eastern Conference Finals against a team who's made 5 straight Eastern Conference Finals at the time, and also your bum-ass roster versus playing in the NBA Finals with 2 other superstars and you're not beating this team with a Dirk and a Jason Kidd and a bunch of no-name players?
They were bums, bro.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a totally different scenario. That's what I'm saying. Mental midget. That was also LeBron's.
That wasn't mental. That wasn't mental, bro.
Because he did the same thing.
Not mental.
He lost the series against Orlando. He should have never lost. He lost the series.
No. We're not gonna do that. There's an entire video. Since you like YouTube videos, since you like recommended YouTube videos, why don't you go and find a video about how the refs went and rigged that series against Orlando, against Cleveland, to stop Kobe from winning the finals that year? Okay. Why don't you go and look?
No. I'm straight up talking LeBron versus Orlando.
Yeah, I'm talking about that series.
You're talking about the Orlando series versus Cleveland. What about the year after that? What about the year after that? The Celtics series. That went 7 games too.
He got hurt.
What do you mean?
He got hurt. What do you mean?
He played all 7.
He got hurt. He hurt his elbow in like the second game. I'm just saying. If you want to send me videos about Tom Brady being the luckiest quarterback, but when I tell you to look up a video
here we go.
I'm not going to get into the whole Tom Brady thing, but you want us to do that. But when I tell you to look up a video about Orlando having the series rigged for them, all of a sudden it doesn't hold water? Well, how?
Man, I'm about to rename this podcast.
I'm just asking.
I've never seen that. I'll have to check that out for sure. I'll be honest with you, I really wasn't watching that series because I was a Lakers fan at the time, so I was all about watching my Lakers. I didn't care about.
Mental midget also has
because how many years after he made it to the finals initially, which I do not fault him for getting swept to the Spurs. That was not a good team, right? How many years in Cleveland was he the number 1 seed and did not even make it to the finals after that.
Number 1 seed with a trash team.
But he was the number 1 seed in the regular season. What happened in the playoffs?
LeBron. Oh, let's go through the years. So 08 in a closeout game against that super team, he had 45.
What about 07?
07 was the year they went to the finals.
That's right. It was 06, 07. You're right. Okay, my bad.
09, that series was rigged. 2010, he hurt his elbow and was dominating, and in a game that they claim he quit, he had 37, 18, and 12. The next year, he went to Miami and forgot how to shoot against JJ Barea. Then the next year, this mental midget, who, by the way, has the highest points per game in elimination games in the history of the NBA.
I'm saying up through the Mavericks series,
but
he was a mental midget.
So he just shook that off. And,
so you're gonna say that he forgot how to drive against the Mavericks
and pass and do everything else.
Well, then I'll say that James Harden forgot to do that the next year.
When he only took one shot?
James Harden disappeared in the finals. James Harden from the regular season was not in that NBA Finals.
If you want to tell me that happened, I can't even disagree with you, though.
And also that questionable foul call that wasn't called against KD when they were down 2-1, and it should have let the Thunder tie the series and go 2-2, but instead it put the Heat up 3-1.
Which series was that?
The Thunder series.
Oh, in the 2012 series?
The very next year, man, James Harden didn't show up.
They lost in 5.
Yes, they were down 2-1, and in the third game, Kevin Durant got blatantly fouled on a play that would have gave the Thunder a chance to win the game. They didn't call it, and they were down 3-1. They missed that call. But on top of that, James Harden, 6th man of the year, James Harden, who would end up getting paid by the Houston Rockets, did not show up in that series.
Hey, I'm a person that said I think Jordan threw the 95 Eastern Conference Finals. So this is not just LeBron here. The point I'm you said what?
I mean, why would Jordan throw a finals?
Because then they came back the next year against 2 expansion teams and had the largest record or the best record in the history of the league.
Yeah, but why would you still throw a final? Why would you, that was going to happen regardless? Why would you throw it?
It wasn't going to happen regardless. It happened because he threw that finals.
The expansion teams only happened because the
expansion teams didn't happen because of that. He threw the series so that they could come back the next year and three-peat again. This is what you got to remember. When Jordan left the NBA, they were trying to build new stars. And you couldn't build new stars if the Bulls got back to the finals that year. So they let Orlando go to the finals that year. And then the next year, the Bulls came back and wiped them off the face of the earth. So what I'm saying is, similar to how LeBron and them were the villain in 2011, you have them lose, come back, and win next year. Because next year, all of a sudden, everybody's cheering for Miami. Where'd that come from? They were just public enemy number 1. Why were they favorites against OKC next year? I mean, bro, it's he said I'm reaching for get out of your state. Stay.
Man,
you know
David
I can't,
chiming in on this back and forth, and it's just big.
It's been good.
You know the thing about stadium franchises.
Oh,
I gotta forgive him because he's a Jets fan.
Wow.
So when
it's
you're
just
a
like
Jets fan, you project your team's failures on anything you can find. So
that's funny. It's just like when I get on what's this?
NYKia.
Yeah, when I get on NYKia about the Mets, right. It's just like, it doesn't matter how good they get, they still lose in the first round. Meanwhile, the Nationals win a World Series and foil the Astros. So
no, I mean, my thing is at the end of the day,
still won a title though.
I know, right?
Yeah. But I mean, my thing at the end of the day is
the Yankees.
I think it's not just LeBron, it's not just MJ. I think that there are things that happen that make it out to be a lot more WWE than legitimate NBA basketball.
No, I agree. I mean, even though as Lakers fans, you could go back to that Lakers Kings series in 2001, I believe.
2002.
Yeah, that's the one that won 7. I mean, I've seen that video about the conspiracy for the Lakers to beat the Kings. And I mean, at least with the presentation they made, I would have to agree that series seemed rigged.
But just look at Jordan's series in '95 when they played against Orlando. I mean, he was having turnovers he never has, and people talk about rusty. He was back for 3 months. He wasn't rusty. You don't score 55. He scored 55 in like his first week back. He was back for 3 months. That man was fine. I want to hear he was rusty. He was not rusty. That man threw that series. So they can go and get smoked.
Yeah, but did you? I'm not saying he was rusty, and I will never give that as the excuse. But did you ever watch the ESPN documentary "This Magic Moment"? And did you hear about Shaq and Penny talk about and Nick Anderson talk about the way they were going to shut down Michael Jordan?
Of course.
And the way they were. So that's the thing. They came up with a scheme like the Pistons used to come up with the Jordan rules. Orlando came up with a scheme to throw him out of his comfort zone, and it worked. And what did Jordan do? He came back next year, prepared for it, and he destroyed them. Just like when the Detroit Pistons were doing the Jordan rules on him, that man worked out and put on 20 pounds of muscle, and what did he do? Come back and destroyed him.
The first one that you said, which was Detroit, is legitimate. The second one, I think, is absolute positive BS. There is no way that Orlando had a scheme to stop Michael Jordan.
Well, they said it in the documentary.
They came up with a scheme that they claimed stopped Michael Jordan. He came back the next game and scored like 40-something.
But you don't have to.
Jordan ain't Jordan no more. He's wearing 45. All right, let me put 23 on real quick. Cook y'all.
Yep,
all right,
and he did it.
And he did it.
He did it.
That he did.
And then what happened?
Exactly. And then what happened?
And then they put this magic, see how I did that? This magical, this magical.
Wait, it was called the Jordan rules, if I can recall.
That was the Pistons.
What Jordan rules
part two
with the magic?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah.
No, what happened was
the Jordan commandments.
What happened was the Bulls. They didn't want them to play the Rockets and get exposed because everybody knows the Rockets would beat their ass in the 90s. So they said, fine, we'll just have Orlando go and get wiped, and we'll create a new star in Shaq because we'll have him in the finals. And then next year, the Bulls can come back and they can go and somehow, I don't know how they magically, this team that beat them last year, they swept them the next year. They swept the Magic. They swept them.
I could tell you the main reason because of Ho Grant.
I know
that's the
Whole
main.
Grant. You called him Whole Grant.
Yeah, he is a hug.
I'm just saying.
Because he wanted so much credit for the Bulls' first 3 championships, and then it was just like, you know what? Because I didn't get the respect I deserve, and I was getting picked on by like Scottie Pippen and whatnot. I was just gonna leave and then come back to Houston. Yeah, and it was just like he got hoisted up on their shoulders when they beat a Michael Jordan light Bulls team, and then
it sounds like a great
by that Bulls team, and then it's like Ho Grant is like, okay, well, my career is over.
It sounds like a great storyline to me. It sounds like a tremendous storyline to me.
Bro, Vince McMahon would love that storyline.
But think about it though. Think about how perfect this is. Mm-hmm. Jordan retires because people were getting tired of the Bulls winning. Goes off, plays baseball. Houston goes in.
Timeout. People get timeout. I'm just saying. People got tired of the Bulls winning 3 in a row when the Pistons just run 2 in a row. The Celtics just won 3 in a row. The Lakers just won 3 in a row before that. And the Blazers won 2 in between all that.
Yes.
Everyone was used to teams winning 2 or 3 in a row.
They three-peated. Can you name a team that three-peated in the 80s?
I can name a team that went there 3 times in a row in the 80s.
The
same teams were
they three-peated.
But every team was at least 2-peating in the 80s.
Golden State won 1 championship and people cheered against them the next year.
Well, people always want the previous champion to lose. People don't.
You're making my point. You're making my point. They won 3 times in a row. If they don't want a team winning once, what do you think they're going to feel about a team winning 3 times in a row?
Yes, man, Pelican. I swear.
Pelican, go back to that corner, bro. You need to pay the rent this month.
Hey, yo.
So Sim, what I'm saying is, I think people were tired of the Bulls winning already, and they needed to build new stars because the whole NBA was basically Michael Jordan. Houston won 94 and 95. They built new stars in between there. And then the Bulls came back, and it was, yay, the Bulls are back. Almost like when Vince McMahon brings the star back. Hey, let's bring Brock back. I think that's what it was.
God.
I believe that's what it was. And here's proof. And hold on, but this is my last point. Here's proof of that. And I alluded to this before. I talked about how 2011, the Miami Heat were public enemy number one. Why was everybody cheering for the Heat in the 2012 finals? Because they already.
I know why.
Why was everybody what? I'm sorry.
Why was everybody cheering for the Heat in the 2012 finals?
Who?
The next year, everybody cheering for.
I thought everyone was cheering for the Mavericks, man, because people were mad at LeBron for going to Miami.
No.
Yeah.
I remember this. I was too.
No, the 2012 finals. After they lost to the Mavericks, why was everybody cheering for them against the Thunder? If you go back and watch. Hell no, they weren't. Go back.
I don't even know who. I didn't even care at that point.
Bro,
Smitty, yes.
everybody. LeBron had the highest selling jersey. There were plenty of star caliber players in the 90s.
This would be another
Jordan
debate.
was leading the Bulls. What does that even have to do with anything?
You said that the NBA wanted Jordan gone
Wait,
so they could build star caliber players. But Charles Barkley literally won the MVP Jordan's last year before he retired.
Yes, he won the MVP.
Exactly.
But
or wasn't he? Didn't even win the MVP.
Okay, but was he as big of a star as Michael Jordan? Was it even close?
Nobody was.
But
you could still be a star.
You could be a star.
But okay.
But so you're not even close to Michael Jordan. It's almost like this. It's the same. And I talked about this with WWE. When The Rock goes off to Hollywood, or when Austin quits, The Rock became the guy.
So in the 80s, who was close to Magic and Larry? Nobody.
Nobody was.
Exactly.
But it was two guys.
So there wasn't two guys in the 90s even when Michael came back. Who was the second guy?
And Jordan took 2 years off.
But who was the second guy when he came back?
That is a good question.
Who was the second guy when he came back?
That's a good question. Yeah.
The second guy when he came back was Shaq.
No.
Because Shaq was the one. What do you mean, no?
Not yet. When did Shaq win his MVP? After Jordan retired.
Shaq wasn't gonna win MVP.
Shaq won MVP in 2000.
Shaq wasn't gonna win NBA MVPs then because the Lakers were not good. The only other person that was gonna compete with Jordan for marketability was a person with a shoe.
The Lakers went to the Western Conference Finals the year that the Michael's last year in Chicago. The Lakers lost the Western Conference Finals
in '98. In '98.
What do you mean they weren't good? And he didn't win his MVP until 2000.
Schneid, you're talking about 1998. You said when Jordan came back, that was 1996.
I know, but you said there was a second superstar. I'm asking you who it was.
I said when Jordan came back in '94, Shaq was a household name, and he was the second superstar. They went to the finals. That got him to that point. They went and got swept, and then what happened? He signed the biggest contract in the history of basketball with the Lakers.
So
had his own shoe.
Couldn't you actually argue that Hakeem was the second superstar, not Shaq? Hakeem won 2 titles, and he won an MVP.
He didn't have the marketability.
Why? He won 2 titles and MVP.
Don't ask me why. He didn't have the marketability. You can see he didn't have the marketability.
I'm going to have to agree with that because it was like he didn't have, like, even Patrick Ewing had his own shoe back then.
Yeah, he did.
Hakeem did have his own shoe. He made it cheap because he came from Africa and he wanted kids to be able to afford it.
Schneid, was
but we're talking about how marketable he was.
Right.
And like,
we're talking about stars.
He was charitable. He was very charitable, but
Schneid,
as far as marketable in this country,
was Hakeem Olajuwon in Kazam, or was that? Oh, that was Shaq.
Yep, that was Shaq.
That was Shaq.
Yeah, that was Shaq.
Who had? Oh, he had an album out too.
Yep.
Oh, he also had the second highest selling shoe behind Jordan at one time.
So
nobody said he was on his level, Smitty. You're missing the point.
My question, Billy's to you is,
yes.
Okay, so we know Jordan was great in the 80s as well, but we admittedly say that the 80s was dominated by Larry and Magic. Michael hadn't won a title to the 90s, right?
So why even though Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So we know, like Jordan was on the up and coming. He was a superstar. He had Air Jordans in the '80s, but Larry and Magic were still the guys because they were the ones winning titles
until
every year.
1990.
Until 1990, different decade. But Magic retired, got AIDS, obviously and Larry Bird retired 2 years after that. So these guys were on the very end of their years in 1990. But LeBron, Michael had his shoe already, had Air Jordans. He had all this, but he still wasn't.
And what happened?
He wasn't. He won a title.
And why did they make the Pistons out to be villains back then? Because they were stopping the guy that we handpicked as the next big thing from making the finals.
How many MVPs did MJ win in the 90s?
He had 2 during that time. In the 90s?
In the 80s?
He won 2 during that time. He won 87, 88 back-to-back?
I think he won. I think 87, 88 because he won defensive MVP
then
as well.
Magic won 89 or something like that.
Yep.
And they made the Pistons public enemy number 1 because they were stopping the guy that they wanted to ordain as the next big thing from making the finals. And I remember in 1990, because I went back and watched the series, they called Michael Jordan the greatest basketball player to ever live before he won a ring.
Mm-hmm.
This marketing for Michael Jordan has always been there. It's literally quoted. And I remember in 1990, that man went and didn't score a point in the fourth quarter against the Pistons. Nobody brings that up. And this isn't to talk shit about Michael Jordan, but the point I'm making is these things happen with him and people bury them. Because the marketability and the fact that he's been pushed to the masses for 30, 40 years now, it tells you not to talk about this, right? If you ask most Michael Jordan fans, they'll say that Michael Jordan's career started in 1991. They won't talk about the fact that he missed the playoffs in his first year, lost to the Bucks in the second year, got swept in his third year. They'll talk about him scoring 63. So the point I'm making is there is slanted coverage for Jordan and against LeBron. So when I start talking, but I've been consistent throughout this conversation saying that I think they both threw series, and I think it was both for a specific situation. It was so that in LeBron's situation, he made a move that needed to cool people down. So if you see him lose, then you'll take some of that vitriol and throw that away. That's why in 2012, everybody, yay, LeBron, about damn time, won a ring, yay. All of a sudden, they're the favorites. Then they go and play the Spurs. Now it's even. Some people want the Spurs to win. Some people want Miami to win. But they were public enemy number 1 in 2011. With Michael Jordan, the reason why I think he went away was to create another big star because it was literally the Michael Jordan show. And when Shaq became that big star, was in movies and had a shoe out and all that stuff, and then went and had his own team in LA, then it was just a matter of, okay, now your team has to be good enough. So then you start adding guys like Horace Grant. Now Phil Jackson goes there. Jerry Reinsdorf pretty much ruined the power dynamic in the league by pushing Jordan out, by pushing Phil Jackson out, by pushing Scottie Pippen out. All this stuff to me was coordinated. That's the point I'm making. You said the ratings went down in the early 2000s. Why was that? Because the Lakers stopped winning, the Spurs started winning, Kobe's team became trash, and Shaq went to Miami. And the Pistons ruined that. The Pistons came and beat them in 5 when the Lakers were supposed to run through them.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, and then the power dynamic was, all right, well, now we got to separate these two. And Shaq basically went to Miami, and they started a new so-called super team with superstars because they didn't like Detroit because Detroit didn't have a superstar. That's the other thing. People don't like teams without superstars. That's the other issue. The NBA has always been about super. Go ahead.
I was about to say, what about this point that State of Franchise is commenting?
They're not afraid of criticism from fans. That's the thing. They're playing a role. They're not afraid of criticism. They're not. Why would you be afraid? Okay, think about it from Michael Jordan's perspective. Even if you can't see it from LeBron's perspective, thinking about it from Michael Jordan's perspective. He's already a dude that's a compulsive gambler and crazy competitive. I've watched games where he gave the Knicks 35 and had 23 the next game. Went and gambled during a series to create a storyline that would make it seem like the Knicks were going to beat them. Came back and still won. It's not. They don't care about the criticism from the fans because it's a job, bro. Like, especially back then, there wasn't no social media.
So
go ahead.
No, you can continue your point.
No, I was gonna say the criticism back then was separate from the criticism now. The criticism now is much more than what it was back then. But once again, with Michael Jordan, that was the only time you really heard that criticism was around the time his dad got killed and him going to Atlantic City during that Knicks series. that was when you started to hear the criticism about Michael Jordan. For the most part, Michael Jordan was squeaky clean.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing people don't want to talk about is there was an investigation for Isaiah Thomas as far as game tampering and throwing games, along with Magic Johnson in the early 90s, and Dick Gregory talked about that. A lot of this stuff happened, and people, they don't want to believe it, and it's fine, but like I said, I think Jordan's done it. I think LeBron's done it. I think Kobe's done it. I think the refs do it all the time, and it's sad because we should be deciding these games on the court, on the field of play. And a lot of times, to change the narrative, it doesn't work out that way. I think that series that the Raptors beat Golden State is funny money. Still to this day, I think it's funny money.
I just want to circle back to kind of the whole point behind this is, so we established that the 80s had two superstars, you know, Magic and Larry. And the reason they were the two superstars is because they were doing two things. They were winning titles and they were both winning MVPs, right? And you move into the 90s
and they had a shoe.
Okay.
They had the two biggest signature shoes out there with a commercial talking about, hey, I just want an MVP. Hey, I just want an MVP. These are the two best players. They were marketed above everybody else.
Well,
Larry and Magic was.
Well, they were marketed, I guess, but it's easy to market people who are constantly winning MVPs and playing and winning NBA championships. My point is there was nobody else doing that like that in Michael. Shaq was marketable, but he went to the NBA Finals one time in the 90s while Jordan was there. He didn't win his MVP until after Michael retired. So I don't think you can say that he was I think he was Michael and only Michael in the 90s, because while he was retired, Hakeem won MVP, then David Robinson won MVP, then Michael won MVP, then Karl Malone won MVP. So all these different big guys were
They didn't
MVP.
try to market any of them guys.
They didn't want to try to market any of those guys. But you know who they could have marketed that they didn't, who the teams were extremely successful, that people completely forget about how truly successful they were, was a guy named Rain Man up in Seattle. Sean Kemp. Sean Kemp and the Seattle Supersonics were absolutely dominant. They lost so many Western Conference Finals before they finally made it there and lost to Chicago. But either way, but I'm just saying, like, there was marketability there. You had arguably the second coolest nickname in Rain Man in the NBA besides his Airness, right? Shaq Diesel didn't come around to the 2000s when he won an MVP. There was no Shaq Diesel until then, which turned into a great. But he was marketable, but he wasn't a number two to Jordan. Like there was no
easily a number two to Jordan. He had a movie, a shoe, and the biggest contract in the history of the league in 1996. Who can you name that was even close to Jordan besides Shaq? He was clearly number two. You can't say he wasn't. He was in Blue Chips. He was in Kazam. He had his own shoe. He had the biggest contract in the league. He was clearly the second biggest star as far as marketability in the league behind Michael Jordan. And it all started when Michael Jordan took a year off and came back, and they beat Michael Jordan in the Eastern Conference Finals. They beat Michael Jordan's team. I hate when people say that. They beat Michael Jordan's team in the Eastern Conference Finals, and Shaq went to the finals and came up small because Hakeem beat his ass. And they thought they were going to ordain somebody as the next big star, and Hakeem denied them of that. So then the next year, Michael Jordan came back, they swept them, and they went back to being the darlings of the league, but people were tired of them. That's the point I'm making. It's not that he was equal to Jordan. Even if he was a distant second, Shaq was the second most marketable player as of 1996 when Jordan returned full-time.
Yes, but it wasn't even close to Larry and Bird. It's not the same. Larry and Bird were right here. Larry and Bird were here. Michael was up here. Shaq down here. That's what I'm saying. It's not the same as it's like we're saying we had two guys in the 80s. In the 90s, it was dominated by one guy.
It was one guy.
Even one guy in the 90s. You said there was two.
I said there were two by the time Shaq came around.
You said there were two superstars.
Shaq was a superstar.
He had no MVPs. How are you a superstar with no MVP? Karl Malone won an MVP.
Oh,
So David
bring
Malone,
up Karl Malone around.
Wait a minute.
Karl Malone around.
This is where I'm gonna shoot this down right here and right now. You're telling me you can't name people that won MVPs that weren't superstars?
Karl Malone was a superstar. He's the second most. He scored the second
What
most
commercial
points
was
in
he
NBA history.
What commercial was he on?
Yeah, that's got screwed up because he got a 12-year-old girl pregnant.
We're talking
He
about
still scored
marketability.
The 12.
That's right.
Yes, and that
Yeah,
ruins that. He got a 12-year-old girl pregnant. What person's going to market him?
David
He still
Robinson won an MVP.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know why he didn't get marketed? Because he was open Christian with his faith. People do not want to promote that.
So if you can talk about conspiracy, why can't I talk about conspiracy?
But it's not a conspiracy.
It is a conspiracy, just like Mark Jackson not having a coaching job because he's Christian faith. Is that not a
Who?
conspiracy? Mark Jackson.
Yeah,
they said that but that's the point. So, well, what?
No, I don't think he's not getting a coaching job because of his Christian beliefs. I don't think that's it at all.
That's what they claim, right?
That's what they claim. I don't know if there's proof of that.
But the point I'm making is there have been guys that have won MVPs. There have been guys that have won MVPs.
David Russell did a lot of right guard commercials.
Yeah, he did. He did a lot of right guard commercials.
He did.
Oh, yeah.
A whole
Grant Hill.
Right
Hill had
is
Sprite.
definitely.
Grant Hill was in Sprite. Grant
Hill had more marketability than the guys you're naming that had MVPs.
But that's my point. These guys won MVPs. You can't be a superstar and not have an MVP. I'm sorry, you can't.
Yeah,
you can't be a superstar.
You say you can't be a superstar if you haven't won an MVP
and not win an MVP. Or
wait a minute,
Luka Doncic.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'm about to. Yeah, there's a ton that are deemed superstars and don't have. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm saying post career.
Yeah.
We're looking at hindsight.
Okay.
Saying, Luka's going to win an MVP.
Okay.
Luka will win an MVP.
Schneid, here's another thing that'll poke some holes in that. Kobe has one MVP.
Yeah.
And he was more marketable after he won his first MVP.
Was he? After the trade? After the rape stuff?
Yes.
After the rape stuff?
He won his first MVP.
He was never as marketable after the stuff that happened in Colorado.
I don't know about that.
Are you kidding me? Okay.
What? Let me jump in on this one. Okay.
Go. He had the contract with Adidas.
But no, it's not even about that. I'm like, when people run into controversial events, either they're going to take off or they're going to sink. And in this case, Kobe took off after that. So that was a case where it's just like, it shouldn't have worked for him, but
it worked.
It did.
Kobe won an MVP in 08, and people did not like Kobe at that point. Kobe became an internet darling and one of the most revered players in the league after that, and had the highest selling shoe outside of Jordan's every year after that.
Yep. But he also didn't win the MVP the year before that because the stigma was still following him. Steve Nash shouldn't have won that MVP.
Okay, well, if you ask Shaq, he should have won it. That's not the point. The point is
Shaq should have won more MVPs.
No. Wait. Dirk won it that year.
There was a year that I'm talking about.
Steve Nash won 05 and 06.
Okay,
Kobe. 2 years.
Steve won it. Yeah, the year that Kobe put up like 35 points a game.
So I go 05 or 06.
Yeah, it was one of those. One of the years that Steve Nash won it was one of the years Kobe should have had it.
So another guy that won MVP, Moses Malone.
Yeah.
Do you consider Moses Malone a superstar of the 80s?
I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame.
That's not what I asked. Dennis Rodman's in the Hall of Fame. Moses? I mean, oh God, what is this? Kobe had a what? No, he didn't.
Oh boy.
Oh my God. So you're telling me that Kobe had all those fans in China prior to 04, or was that after when he had all those conventions and was the biggest star in China? Or was it when he signed with Nike, or as opposed to when he didn't have a deal in 04 when you're talking about, when he was wearing Jordans? We're not, come on, bro.
Now,
hold
on. Let me chime in real quick. I want to be mindful of everyone's time because I know we're 2 hours and 38 minutes into it.
Yeah.
20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Is everybody good or?
If y'all go with it.
Okay, keep going.
So
Go ahead.
I know, right?
So this is the thing. You can't say Kobe was more marketable before 04 because the metrics don't indicate that. There's no metric that indicates that. He sold more shoes than anybody else outside of Michael Jordan from 08 on. Once his first signature shoe with Nike came out. He was the biggest star in China. He was consistently a top 5 jersey seller after his MVP. He wasn't winning MVPs no more, and nobody cared.
He was winning titles, though.
He won 2. And then he got swept in the first round of the playoffs the following year and never made it back anywhere close to that. So the point I'm making is when they want to make somebody a superstar, they will go out of their way to make somebody a superstar. They wanted to make Shaq a superstar, and it did not work right away because Hakeem said, no, our team is better. We're going to cook these dudes. I think they had Jordan throw that series to secure that. And they really thought Orlando could measure up against Houston, and they didn't. They got smoked. And then Jordan came back. I'm not even talking about you, FPS. I'm not even talking about you. I'm talking about Smitty. I'm not talking about you. So my point is, in the 80s, Magic and Bird came in together, which is another reason why they were married together. They were always going to be mentioned together. They came in together. Their teams were built from the ground up together. And that's how it went all throughout the 80s. On sneaker commercials together, always compared to each other, facing each other in finals, it was bound to happen. But what I'm telling you is that the years that Detroit was winning, they were trying to push Jordan to that point, and they couldn't, which is why the Pistons were villains, which is why the Pistons were hated. Don't let people tell you, oh, that's because they walked off the court when Jordan beat them. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Everybody did that in the 80s. They showed footage of the Celtics doing that. They showed footage of the Lakers doing that. It was not the Pistons doing that. It was the fact that they wanted to ordain Michael Jordan as the next great star, and he kept losing over and over and over again. And then when 91 came, they put their foot on Detroit's neck because Detroit was tired, and they'd been to like 5-6 Eastern Conference Finals in a row. And the Bulls finally secured that spot, and they could finally ordain Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time with only 1 ring. Mind you, they called him the greatest player of all time the year before that, and he just lost to Detroit 2 years in a row. Smitty, bro.
Bills, at this point, you're gonna have 2 foes in this debate because you got
Billy, I
100%
agree with you.
Taking pot
I 100% agree with you about the 80s. My point is there was no 2 superstars in the 90s for the NBA. There was 1 man and 1 guy alone.
Shaq was a superstar, bro. I'm telling you.
Hey, how many commercials where I want to be like Shaq?
So because they had a different marketing pitch, Shaq was known as an explosive superstar. They didn't do I want to be like Shaq. They did I want to be like Mike. Shaq was known as Shaq Attack. Oh, big, explosive, agile guy. He had 2 movies he was one of the main stars in. How are you not a superstar? He had breakaway mainstream appeal, which is pretty much the definition of a superstar. You can't name anybody else in the NBA that had that besides Shaq and Michael Jordan. So how is he not a superstar? You name guys that won MVPs. He didn't win an MVP, and he somehow still had more marketability and was pushed more to the masses.
So you know why he was in movies, my guy, is because Dr. Jerry Buss had friends in high places in Los Angeles, and that was one of the allure of going to LA. Why the hell is LeBron in LA? How many movies has LeBron appeared in since he went to LA compared to before when he was in Cleveland and Miami?
So
he's in House Party. He was just in the second Air, the second
LeBron was in Trainwreck when he was in Cleveland. That was a movie.
He was in Trainwreck.
That's about three movies. It's about 3 movies.
Yeah, he's been in 3 movies. 2 of them since he's been to LA.
Yes, but
in 4 years, he's done twice as many movies as he did in 16 elsewhere.
You're not slick, Schneid, because I see what you're trying to do. LeBron already had the marketability to be in movies if he truly wanted to. Prior to that, you said Jerry Buss used his pull to get Shaq in the movies. I don't think that's what it was. He didn't use his pull to get Shaq a shoe before he went to L.A.
Why not? That's way more money.
He didn't
that's a
use.
huge...
No, what I'm saying is Jerry Buss didn't use his pull to get Shaq a shoe. Shaq got a shoe on his own merit because he was marketable.
I'm not talking
He
about
had
shoe.
a
I'm talking about okay, LA. What's LA popular in the 90s, right? West Coast rap, there's just a music scene, an artist scene. He drops
And
an
he was
album.
marketable. And he was marketable.
Yes, he was. I'm not arguing that he wasn't marketable.
So
I'm
he was a
saying he
superstar.
wasn't the number 2 to Jordan. I'm saying there was no number 2 in the 90s.
You just said all the stuff he did, which is
Yes.
literally what superstars do. And by the way, is more than any superstar does
Wait a
these
minute.
days.
Wait a
So
minute,
how
Bills-
is he not a superstar?
Bills, you do have your MC such and suches and bad actors, even though they're good basketball players.
Are we
But-
calling Ray
but-
Allen a
but-
superstar for playing Jesus Shuttleworth?
That
when he
was,
was
don't do that. That
That
I'm gonna
man
do it.
was
I'm gonna do
Jesus.
it.
That was one movie.
I'ma do it.
Schneid.
He
Schneid.
played it really
Schneid,
well.
It was, but what I'm saying is there's a difference between having a one-off in a movie and having a movie, another movie, a shoe, and a bunch of commercials. Shaq had that. Can you even name, and this is what's going to clinch the argument for me, can you even name somebody in this generation that was doing the shit Shaq was doing in 96 as far as marketability, outside of LeBron James and Stephen Curry? Can you even name another NBA player?
That's doing what Shaq was as far as marketability.
Movies, shoes, and commercials. Who
Uh,
besides Stephen Curry and LeBron James in the NBA has all three of those? You see their face all the time. You can't name anybody else. I'm waiting. You can take all night. You ain't gonna find one.
So no, but I was gonna say what I will say. Yeah,
Is-
nobody's doing movies like that. But big scene of those two white patties.
Oh,
my
that
God,
was
what's
man.
Those chicks were bad. Go ahead, Schneid.
I was gonna say they're not appearing. The person that I was gonna
Black
mention
Ball.
isn't appearing in movies, but they did have a movie documentary about their entire life, and that's Giannis. I mean, and he's also, you know, there's a thing I would also say too. I don't care if a star athlete's in appearing in movies, because guess what? If they're
I don't
appearing in
either.
movies, they ain't working on their game and trying to get better.
I
There's a
agree with you on
reason.
that.
There's a reason
Wait.
that it's fallen down. These NBA players aren't in as many movies, is because also now you have social media and it has the stigma and perception. If you're off acting in Hollywood for your entire summer, how are you going to get better? You're not considered taking your job seriously. You're not considered to be someone who's putting in work for you to get better. Giannis has international appeal, and everyone likes him, bro.
No,
he
so
is
Schneid,
hilarious.
Schneid, I'm not even debating that. This is what I'm saying. If you can't name anybody that was doing the stuff that Shaq was doing in '96,
But they don't want to do it.
it's not about whether they want to do it. We're talking about reality here. We're talking about what happened. Shaq in '96 was doing more than what these athletes these days were doing as far as shoes, movies.
So Kevin Durant was in a movie. Was he in Like Mike 2 or something like that? Or he was in that the Thunderstruck.
Thunderstruck.
He was
Thunderstruck.
in a okay. Kevin Durant was in a straight to DVD movie. Once
Kyrie-
again, you
Kyrie was
you
just
are
in a movie.
naming. Kyrie was just in a movie. You're naming one
Uncle
offs.
Drew. I'm
You're
just
naming
saying
one-offs.
there's a reason these guys don't want to do
Schneid.
it.
But Schneid, I named a combination of things that Shaq did
Okay. And Shaq was making
that
movies. And
made.
my question, and Shaq was making movies. Why did
Yeah.
Kobe and him not get along? What was Kobe's beef with Shaq?
Kobe's beef with Shaq was
He
his
wasn't
lack of-
putting in work. Why
But
wasn't he
that's
putting in
not-
work?
That's
He's
not
off
the
making
argument.
movies.
But Schneid, I'm not arguing that point. I already said I agreed. The point I was making was you said there was not a number 2 to Michael Jordan. And then I asked you in a different era if anybody was doing anything equal to what Shaq was doing back then. And you said no. So that means that he was a number 2 to Jordan, because you can't even take somebody from this era and put them back then and say they were a number 2 to Jordan. So how is he not a number 2?
But
When he's doing
you're
more than
comparing
everybody else these
apples to
days.
oranges, because
No, I'm not.
what Shaq and Michael were doing as far as marketability in the 90s wasn't
It's
even
the same
being done
stuff
in the
that works
80s.
now.
How many movies was Magic and Larry in?
We're not talking about the 80s, so we're not comparing apples to oranges.
Yes, we
This
are.
is the point. No, we're not, because what I'm saying is you're talking about marketability. The same way they made money during the Michael Jordan era in marketability was shoes, movies, and commercials. Nowadays, how do you make money as a player basically with your ad deals? It's shoes, movies, and commercials. Shaq, we've already established, you said it, did more in the 90s than any player these days not named LeBron James and Stephen Curry. So how would that not equate to him being the number 2 star in the 90s when guys now in an era of more marketability and more reach as far as being marketable, they're not even as marketable as him?
Question: What 2 movies? Shaq was in 2 movies in the 90s, correct?
Kazam and Blue Chips.
When did they come out?
Wait, what about Steel?
Steel 2. You can name that one.
When did they come out? Do you know? I know Kazam was in the early
95, 96.
And then what about the video games
Actually,
he was in?
and
Him and Michael Jordan.
Yup.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but real quick. So Shaq was in 3 movies in the 90s, correct?
And a bunch of commercials and
a bunch
the
of
second
commercials.
biggest shoe in the league besides
And he
Michael
dropped
Jordan,
he dropped his album in the 90s as well, correct?
yes. All this
Correct.
stuff, yes.
All this stuff in the 90s, and it stopped in the 2000s, correct? No more
Yes.
movies in the 2000s, no more
Yep.
album in the 2000s. Guess what
Pretty
happened
much.
when the 2000s came? He won MVP and he won titles. So it's like the direct correlation was he stopped doing movies and music, he started winning MVP and titles.
But Schneid, that counteracts your point because your point was if you're not winning MVPs, you're not a superstar, yet everything I named equated to a superstar. So your argument of what he did made him a better player and he started winning MVPs isn't the argument we're having. We're talking about marketability and who they tried to make a superstar. They clearly tried to make Shaq a superstar, and I named everything that he did. And I named everything that he did that equated to being more than any superstar this day, not named LeBron James or Stephen Curry. You said he was not a number 2 to Michael Jordan. But how was he not when he was, as you can see, doing more marketing-wise than any player these days? That's the point I'm making to you. You can't say he's not a valid number 2. Even if you say he's a distant number 2, Shaq was number 2. He didn't need an MVP for that. Everything you named as far as him being a player in the 2000s was him being a player. Doesn't have anything to do with marketability or them pushing him. Because at the end of the day, if they want to push somebody, they're going to push him. Point blank. That's the point I'm making to you. If they want to push somebody to the masses, they're going to push him. They didn't call Michael Jordan the greatest basketball player to ever live before he won a ring for no reason. That wasn't a Freudian slip. That was what they wanted to. That's what they wanted to push.
Mm-hmm.
Pelicans, you're probably paying somebody to fart in your face right now. Anyway, so the point I'm making is I think we have a fundamental disagreement. And it's fine because look, I love debating with you.
And I love Shaq.
hearing-
I love Shaq. I just
Yeah.
I just look at it like he was on such a steady incline in Orlando. As soon as he got to LA, he fell off a little bit. He wasn't doing the same
Player-wise,
numbers. Yes, but then his play elevated as soon as he knocked off all that nonsense.
But why did his
players
play
see
drop?
that.
But why did his player drop? Why did his stats drop, and why did his status as a player drop? Because he was becoming a superstar and it let it get to his head?
No, because he wasn't putting in work.
Why wasn't he putting in work? Because he was busy doing stuff to superstars.
Exactly, bro. And people
Movies.
see that.
Exactly. You just admitted it.
Yeah, he was doing movies because who else? Okay, you live in
You said
LA.
he wasn't a superstar.
You live in LA in the
I just said
90s.
He was doing stuff to superstars.
You
dude.
live in LA in the 90s, right? The
Yes.
LA's used to winning. You have the Clippers who had nobody on their team,
They
and you
were
have LA.
trash. Mhm.
Exactly. So LA's gonna try to do whatever. You don't have Magic Johnson, you don't have the Showtime Lakers anymore. You pull a big name free agent. Of course, you're gonna try to make him. Yes,
You're making my point.
but
You're
that
making
also,
my point, Snake.
No, but what I'm saying is the reason nobody's doing that today is because they see what happens when you do that. When you're not completely focused on your game, you can now still be heavily marketable without being in music videos and in videos in general and dropping Rhapsodies. You're now marketable, but
What did
because
FPS
times have
just say?
changed.
Because he became marketable. So I'm not arguing with what you're saying. I agree. Players should not focus on that stuff. But the point I'm making is you can't say that Shaq was not a superstar because he was. And he didn't need an MVP for that. He was pushed to the masses at the level of a superstar without even having that stamp of approval, which was an MVP, which means they tried even harder to market him. That's the point I'm making to you. It's not okay, anyway. So the point I'm making to you is this is why I believe that Shaq is the second superstar of the 90s. And if you ask people, they'll probably agree with me Because you can't pick anybody else because nobody else was doing the stuff that Shaq was doing. And it's not about why they weren't doing it. And it's not about what happened when Shaq did it. It's about the fact that he did it. And Jordan had the shoes and the commercials and the movies. And what did Shaq have? The shoes and the commercials and the movies. And he was the only person that equaled that. You name Charles Barkley, you name guys that were MVPs. They didn't market those guys. If they didn't want to do it, that was their prerogative. The point I was making was, I think the NBA saw that as a chance to give Shaq that stamp of approval because if they won the finals that year, he would have been a huge star, and it would have made it so that if Jordan's suspension, retirement, whatever you want to call it, if he wanted to continue to play baseball after that strike, they could have went along with Shaq and pushed him to the masses, but they lost. And then Jordan came back Go ahead.
Not only did they lose, he got absolutely cooked by Hakeem.
Yes.
Like how are you gonna if your conspiracy theory is we want the Magic to beat the Bulls so we can make a new superstar in Shaq, why would you have him get absolutely cooked on national TV?
They didn't have him do anything. Nick Anderson.
Well, if they can control the Bulls losing, if they can control the Bulls losing this series, you think they could control?
They weren't controlling the Bulls losing. I said Jordan threw that series. I didn't say they were controlling anything. I said Jordan threw that series. That's what I said.
But Jordan threw the series because you said the NBA wants to make another superstar. So that would mean that NBA indirectly comes to Michael and says, "Hey, we need you to throw this," and then Michael threw it because of the NBA. So really, the NBA wanted
indirectly, yes,
is what you're saying.
But the point I'm making is. Yeah, but I mean, his movie isn't really even. That's not even really relevant so much to what we're talking about. Yeah, we're talking about in 1995.
As far as marketability, Shaq was the number 2 most marketed person in the 90s. But what I was trying to say is in the 80s, you had 1A and 1B with Larry and Magic, and in the 90s. There was not 1A, 1B. There was 1 and there was 2. And there was a huge gap. But there wasn't 2 guys. But it was dominated by 1, and then you had a second guy creeping up.
But that's what I said when I started this conversation. I said the NBA attempted to send Jordan off, do whatever he's going to do to make this new star because he was overshadowing all the rest of the stars in the league. If you remember, the breath of fresh air people claimed it was the year he wasn't in an All-Star game, which was 94 and 95. Scottie Pippen wins MVP. Karl Malone and John Stockton won MVP in 93 when he was on the way out. But the point I'm making is he had to go away so that other people could shine because of the fact that he was overshadowing everybody else. And I think their attempt at that was to have Shaq become that mega star. That was my point from the beginning. I didn't say they were equal. I didn't even say they were close. I just said if you're picking 2 stars from the 90s, you're picking Michael Jordan, you're picking Shaq, 96 and on. Before that, it was Michael Jordan and everybody else. Clyde Drexler wasn't getting marketed like that.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson had, his situation that caused him to retire. And I think they saw it as an opportunity to build for the future because, quite frankly, Jordan was getting up there in age too, and he was going to retire eventually too. So what are you going to do after he leaves? But, it's like I said. It's like when Austin walked out. I know you're not. I don't know if you're a wrestling fan. But
no, he is.
So it's like when Austin walked out. Yeah, it's like when Austin walked out in 2001. When Austin walked out, they were already pushing The Rock to be that next big star to the point where they actually had The Rock go out and throw him under the bus on national TV. And said, "Hey, we're doing fine without Stone Cold. You don't got to come back. Go on, whatever. We got The Rock." There was no The Rock for Michael Jordan. It was Michael Jordan, a.k.a. Stone Cold Steve Austin, and nobody else came behind him. So he had to leave in order for other people to shine. That's the point I'm making. And I think that was their way of doing it. So that's the only argument I'm making.
Yeah, no, I just – my thought process on what you said is NBA wanted to – Michael Jordan dominated everything, but – there were other guys there because if that's the case, Charles Barkley would have won his MVP, Karl Malone would have his MVP. Michael played those years, won the NBA title, didn't win MVP. So it wasn't like it was just Michael and everybody else. There were other people. I think it's winning
MVPs, though. But I think it's deeper than MVPs, which is my point. I don't think MVP would impact that because, like I said, Shaq became crazy marketable. He didn't win MVP. I don't think it was about MVPs. That's the point I'm making, and I don't think fans view it as that either because, like, if you ask people right now who are the two biggest stars in the NBA, who would they say? The people that they see all the time, right? So they probably say Stephen Curry and LeBron James. Until we start seeing Luka doing a whole bunch of media and commercials and all that crap, you're probably not going to say he's one of the biggest stars unless you really watch basketball.
But you have to take personality into account too, because Tim Duncan won 5 titles and several MVPs, and look at his personality. He didn't want to be in the spotlight. He wanted to say anything. That doesn't diminish what he was to the NBA. That dude was an absolute force. But people don't even people forget the man existed. They forget what he did. They forget how good he was. They forget that he was the best power forward of all time. Like,
they do.
Just because he was quiet, and you can't force people. And it was also a no social media area, right, where you have all these athletes on Twitter interacting with people and fans and stuff like that, and live streaming before the game, and all this stuff. I just Luka, if Luka's a soft-spoken, quiet person, doesn't want to have all the media attention on him, that shouldn't diminish what he does on the court and how great he is. Just like it shouldn't diminish, some guys just want all the attention. LeBron, one of those guys. Just like my quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, he wants all the attention, man. He's one of those guys.
But this is the last thing I'll say. I agree with you on that. This is the last thing I'll say. This is my last argument because we're at the 3-hour mark. Talk about MVPs. Talk about marketability. How many MVPs does Mike Trout have? And Mike Trout in the MLB, how many MVPs does Mike Trout have? And if you ask somebody if they knew who Mike Trout was just walking down the street, would they know who he was? The answer is no. If you showed them his face, they would not know who he was. But
to be fair, that's
you show them
most baseball.
No. If you show them who Shohei Ohtani was, they probably know.
Well,
if you showed them who Aaron Judge was.
Also, the difference, though, well, no, Shohei Ohtani, because he's Asian and you have a huge Asian fan base because of that.
I don't think
right?
that's what it is. But if you're not showing somebody that's Asian, if you're showing somebody that's white American or black American and they don't watch baseball, if you showed them Shohei Ohtani, they'd say, hey, it's I don't know his name, but I know who he is. Then show them Aaron Judge. They'd say, yeah, Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge has played Aaron Judge has been in the playoffs. Mike Trout hasn't.
But what I'm saying is,
most people watch baseball in the playoffs. Nobody cares about regular season baseball because there's 162 games.
Most people don't watch baseball, but show them Mike Trout, right? Are they gonna know who Mike Trout is? He's won 1 million MVPs. That's the point of making. You were talking about MVPs. It's like it's not always about success. It's about who is in your face outside of their sport. And most times, those are the people that are looked at as superstars, just like Fernando Tatis. But I hear what you're saying. I just disagree.
Yeah, I know. Baseball is one of those things too. Unless you're literally a fan, though, you're not going to know what these people look like, and it's just because baseball is one of those things. It's broadcast on regional sport networks most of the time. You have 30 teams. There's only X amount of games that are aired on national television, and most people, unless they're actual fans, don't sit down and be like, hey, let me watch this 3.5-hour baseball game that is super fun to watch in person, but is absolutely the worst thing to watch on TV because it's so damn boring on TV. Yeah, so people aren't going to see these people. They're just not. The only reason they might see Aaron Judge competes in the home run derby. Aaron Judge has made it to the playoffs where people actually tune in. So if Mike Trout made it to the playoffs and made it to the World Series, people that are casuals who like to watch playoff baseball, that's the time that I like to watch it, unless I'm in person, will see and recognize them. But if you're successful as an individual, but not successful as a team, how the hell are they going to know you exist? They don't see you on national television.
Of course, but there are players that you see on national television in the NBA that you wouldn't know them if you saw them any other time.
I mean, I could tell you, like, what you're saying, there's players like that in the NBA?
I'm saying there are players like that in the NBA, which is why LeBron and Stephen Curry, who, yes, they choose to do the marketing, are also the most recognizable people It's because of the fact that those are the people that are marketed. I just think there is a fundamental difference between who should be marketed and who is marketed. And I'm not saying that Stephen Curry and LeBron don't deserve it. I'm saying other people do, and if they don't want to do it, that's one thing. But I don't think there's a correlation between success and marketing all the time. I think there is something to that, but I don't think it's the end all be all.
I think
I
it's
know we're
also
over a 3-hour mark.
I agree with you, but I also think it's way, way, way harder to market people nowadays because of woke culture. I think that makes it extremely harder to market people because someone comes out and says something that doesn't align with a certain viewpoint of a certain group of people, and it's let's take to the internet and get this person canceled or fired or have them lose their marketability job over something they just simply don't agree with. And so now marketing, you're not seeing nearly as much of it because these marketing companies and these people that would market people have to be so freaking careful about who they pick and what they have them done. And that's why I think you see so much less people being marketed, NBA, just athletes in general. You see Shaq in every commercial. Why? He's been doing it for years, and they like people like, hey, Shaq is Shaq. You know what I mean? But that's why Shaq's in like 5 different commercials for people. You don't see hardly anybody else in these commercials. Remember, LeBron used to be in Sprite commercials all the time, right? And those commercials were great. I don't remember last time I saw a LeBron Sprite commercial. I mean,
because he's too busy. He's too busy doing other things to make him money, and he's already a household name. And
the Lakers are 13th in the West at the same time.
Damn.
Yeah, but I mean, but when you're grandfathered in, I mean, look, the shot doesn't matter to me. I don't play.
No.
Wild.
Yeah, Pelican. Yeah, Pelican.
Sit down somewhere, bro.
Pelican
is they cooking. I ain't getting in the middle of that, man. They cooking. They speaking facts. I'm sitting back like, they got it.
The funny thing was going into this, I'm like, and Bill's also just smartened me up a little bit. It's just like, look, there's no way that I was going to go into this situation with a list of topics and everybody go through it. I figured once everybody got in here, it was going to take off on its own. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, you got to read the room and shut the fuck up.
Exactly. That's literally what it was.
So
yep, let me sit back. Y'all got it.
I really like hearing other people's perspectives on stuff, and it's all perspective. There's no right or wrong. I'm not right. I'm not also not wrong. It's perspective. It's just fun to explain people your point of view and why you view something your way. But I'm 100% not right when I say that Michael was the only superstar, because there's no way to there's just no right or wrong answer there. It's just opinion. You know what I mean? It's just an opinion. We just talk about why we have our opinion,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it's fun talking to y'all. I mean, there are a lot of people that don't really truly actually know how to debate. I mean, if there was, I could name several people if they were on here, we would have gotten
here we go.
Dumb personal attacks halfway through I'm not a person that likes to resort to that if we're having a good friendly debate. As long as we listen to each other and understand what we're saying and have counterpoints, there's nothing wrong with that. And I always know that you're coming with logic, so there's never a need for that, because stuff you say is not it's not so outlandish, right? It's not like you're saying I think that Shaq was a top 25 center of all time. It's like, really? Okay, go sit down somewhere. It's like, you use logic to make your point, and that's why I like talking to you, and the same reason I like talking to DJ, the same reason I like talking to Drey.
Yeah, but so you literally said I use tactics just like Donald Trump.
You do.
In our debate.
You do. Look.
Hey, if it helps you win, it helps you win. I mean, shit. What's wrong?
There are tactics during the course of debate that can be used at certain times where a person might not notice because they're so heavy into the debate, or they're not as good at debating, like deflection. changing the standards of stuff that you brought, right? This is stuff that you can work on people that are like rookie debaters, right? But you would do it, and I'm like, DJ, I know what you're trying to do. Like, I know you're trying to, like, twist people's words. Like, there's all sorts of things you can do during the course of debate because they teach you that stuff in college. Like, there's debate teams. They have them in high school. It's the same thing. There's all sorts of different ways to debate. Personal attacks ain't one of them. Getting emotional ain't one of them, right?
Yeah.
But people all the time, and they start yelling. It's like, bruh, if you got facts to back you up, you don't need to do all that yelling and screaming.
Right.
You don't got to do all the name calling and
Exactly.
And listen, speaking of facts, we did all this talk about MVPs. We talked so much about MVP. I want to say that, in my opinion, the MVP of this stream was Billy Bills, because when his internet was down, it was just the three of us. He called Xfinity real quick. Was like, "Hey, I'm
the fact you first off, I didn't. I used my 5G.
I'm just playing. I
went out to my car.
Bills hit the extra power, but
he's Xfinity. Yo, I need you to boost my speed real quick, man.
If you ain't got it done, I'll put a foot in your
I
ass.
took my black ass out to my car and said, 5G it is.
Man, I was looking at the background. I was like, is Aaron Rodgers with you? I mean, like,
Man,
Aaron Rodgers was cutting cords outside. Like, I'm about to be back.
Was out there clipping them joints. Clip. God damn. All right.
I'm not gonna lie. I googled Boston internet provider just like to make sure the joke was legit.
Of course he did.
There it is.
Xfinity is the biggest one here too.
That was crazy.
Quick question: what games are people playing now? Because I know we're way past the 3-hour mark, but I wanted to at least get this question out because we all play games on here.
I'm obsessed with Hogwarts right now.
Oh boy, yeah.
I've been up till 3 o'clock the last couple nights playing that thing. I'm obsessed with it.
I'm gonna be playing that possibly tomorrow for sure. I'm gonna play that tomorrow. Right now, I'm still on The Last of Us Part 1. I'm just messing around with it because I've already beaten it, so I'm just playing it again for the hell of it.
I got one for y'all. I'm about to re-download because I never beat it. I'm about to re-download Red Dead 2.
It's a good game.
I'm about to re-download that Red Dead 2 because I never beat Red Dead 2, so I'm gonna get it because I had it on Xbox, so I'm gonna get it on PlayStation. And I'm gonna start playing that. I need something to play until WWE 2K comes out, bro.
Man, yeah.
But yeah, I'm playing 2K and Red Dead Redemption.
I'll add. I'm still working on my 2K project that I'm doing. Obviously, I'm always doing stuff like that. But when I'm not working on 2K and playing some Madden, Hogwarts is just absolutely incredible.
Don't get canceled out here.
We need a stream to talk about 2K rosters and sliders too.
What's lucky for me is in my Discord, people were talking about it, and everyone seems to be really cool. If you want to play a game, play a game. Like, you're just wanting to play the game because I enjoyed the movies as a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, they came out when I was 12 years old, and I watched them all the way through my teens. Like, I love the movies. I love the universe.
I was going to tell you, Shania, did you read the books?
I never read the books, man, because I'm not a book reader. I'm not a book reader.
But I will tell you, if you were, I read the books first when I was younger, and then I watched the movies. The books are a lot darker than the movies are.
I'm sure they had.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
To where the books are, like the books go, bruh.
State of the franchise. Listen, dude, game of the year. Like I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. Look at the reviews that are coming in from the companies. From the companies that are bold enough to review it.
Dead Space just came out.
Time out.
The remake
Hold on.
It's a remake.
No.
It's a remake, but people are already saying that could be game of the year.
No.
DJ,
Drey, what
hold
you trying
on.
to say?
Time out.
I'm just saying.
Time out.
No.
It is still early in this gen.
What else
It's
is
already
coming
got
out?
4 months in.
What else
All
is
of the
coming
game
out?
lists that we got coming out. Come on, bro. Still a
We got a lot of stuff coming out, man.
We got a lot
What
of
else
stuff
is coming out that's been worked on for 4 years, has been delayed twice?
Oh, that's not bro. You can't do that.
I don't think that's the biggest.
We can't do that
issue.
yet. We can't do that yet. We can't give Hogwarts Legacy Game of the Year.
I can't.
We don't know with the rest. We can't know. You can't.
I'm saying,
do that.
so
You
okay.
can't.
So what other game is coming out early enough.
Spider-Man, not Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
yeah,
ain't gonna win
Spider-Man
Game
2
of
is
the-
gonna be
It's
out.
coming out. It's not going to be
Spider-Man
Game of
2
the
will
Year.
be in it. No, Spider-Man 2 will be in there. We just got to announce a Zelda. The new
I know
Zelda's gonna be dropping. You know that's gonna be Game of the Year conversation. Come on, don't do that. Don't do that.
Tonight, Spider-Man 2 doesn't have a chance to be Game of the Year.
Did
Really?
Spider-Man 1 win Game of the Year?
Did it?
No.
Yeah, did it? I'm pretty.
No, it didn't.
No.
It didn't
What won
win.
Game of
I
the
don't
Year
think
that
it did.
year? What won
God
Game
of
of the Year
War
that
won
year?
one of them.
God of
What,
War.
This past year?
God
No,
of
no,
War.
no. God
Oh,
of War
Red Dead.
didn't. No,
Red Dead
God of
won
No,
War
it
Game of the
didn't
didn't.
Year.
come out the same year as
Not
Red
the same
Dead.
year? Okay,
Spider-Man.
okay. Red
Was
Dead,
it
Red Dead, Red Dead 2.
Red Dead won Game of the Year.
Mhm.
So Schneid, here's the thing. It doesn't have a Red Dead coming out this year to compete with it. So who's to say it wouldn't win Game of the Year?
What do you mean? Well, it has Hogwarts to compete with.
I don't think Hogwarts
I'm
is gonna.
telling you, dude, man. Have you played it?
I don't
Hogwarts,
think it's
okay,
a.
I will
I don't
say
think
this.
it's a
Hogwarts
runaway.
will
Is
be
what I'm
nominated.
saying,
Hogwarts
Schneid.
will be nominated in.
What's
But winning, you got to put Zelda will be one of them
so the
games that will be
reason
in there too.
why I'm jumping this early on Game of the Year for Hogwarts is because not only is the gameplay tight, which we know we have to have, the cinematics are freaking top tier movie esque. Like, you know, do you have RPGs where you're just like, I want to skip some of the cinematics, you don't really give a shit?
Mhm.
The story is so good and the cinematics are so good. It's like you're watching a movie and you actually want to know what happens. You want to hear the conversations. You want to know everything that's going on top of the gameplay. That's why I'm saying that.
Okay.
Like, you don't get a lot of
Are people-
games that have both of them.
Are people
I
still
get-
hating on Forspoken?
Yeah, Forspoken got
yes.
dragged through the mud.
Yes.
Yeah, they dragged the shit out of Forspoken. And
I know
beat
Kool-Aid
Forspoken.
said
Like,
he likes it.
he likes it. I enjoy it. I played it. Beat
The
it.
dialogue
It's a
is
good
bad.
game.
It's not the gameplay for Forspoken, it's the dialogue that
That's
people
what
said.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm saying you got to have both, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Hogwash.
gameplay wise, Hogwash Legacy.
Jesus
Hogwarts.
Christ.
Goddamn.
Mhm.
I'm just saying for me though, it's like right now, yes, Hogwarts Legacy could be in the nomination for it. It will be nominated for sure. But I'm sorry, after I done just seen Zelda be announced and people is waiting on that one, you know that's gonna be in there. And it damn near might win it.
When's the release date?
This I want to say
It just got announced. I saw that it just got announced.
It got
Yeah, it
announced.
did.
What are the chances, though? Because we see this all the time. We see games on their very first announcement, they continually get pushed back. I mean, when was the
True.
last time you
No, that's
saw a
true.
game get announced and it actually came out when it was supposed to? Red Dead got postponed. God of War got postponed. I mean, all sorts of games continue to get postponed because these devs are under so much pressure to
Well,
put out a quality product.
For God of War standards, if we're gonna mention God of War, it got pushed back, but it didn't get pushed back far enough. It got released.
But
Regardless
it
of
ju-
pushback. If it got pushed back,
okay,
it got
okay.
pushed back like about a week or so, but not like
Okay.
pushed back to like another year. No.
Well, I
It
mean,
got
yeah,
released
if
on
it was
time.
announced for like April and got pushed back to October, obviously that's one thing. But if it's announced for the October, November timeframe, then it could get pushed back to where it's not going to be releasing in 2023.
Yeah.
That's why I asked what the release date is for it.
WWE
It will
2K23
be- Zelda
Game
will
of the
be
Year.
out on
He would say
Zelda
something like
will
that.
be out. Tears of the Kingdom will launch on. Oh, dang, that's May. May 12th.
Coming up quick. Oh, okay. So it's
Mhm.
probably not in any chance of being because remember
No,
Hogwarts
it's
was
gonna
supposed to
get
come out in November and it got postponed till February. So
But that was the PS4 edition. Remember, they
No,
released
no.
it 4 times
PS5.
this year.
PS5 was supposed to launch in November and it got delayed till February and then they delayed the PS4 and Xbox
Okay,
version
yeah,
again,
yeah.
but kept
Okay.
the PS5.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. But yeah, a lot of
You're
games
right.
a lot of games get delayed in, you know, so, I mean, obviously Breath of the Wild, or it's not Breath of the Wild. What is it called?
Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom. That'll come out this year. I doubt they would postpone it like 7 more months. So that'll
Nintendo
definitely
gonna make sure they get their money.
that'll definitely be a competitor for sure. The other thing that's going to go against Hogwarts Legacy is the backlash over the stigma around the creator
Yeah.
of the
J.K. Rowling.
yeah, over the
Rowling.
Which
wizarding.
has nothing to
Over
do
the
with, she has
wizarding.
nothing to do with it. Yeah.
No, she created the universe, but they're
Right.
just
Well, she created the universe, but as far as the game
Yeah.
concerned, she has
Nothing to do with it.
the game.
But people are still being
Yeah,
They're,
facts.
Well, they're
You know what I
being
mean?
hypocrites for the
Yeah,
most part,
hypocrites,
because
yeah.
before she even said anything, they enjoyed the universe, and all of a sudden it's like because she says something, everybody's like, "Oh, so now I don't like it. I'm gonna launch a strike and stuff like that."
Not
And I'm
everyone
like,
can share the same views as you. Everyone was brought up differently. Everyone was brought up in a different part of the country. Like,
that's true.
it's
True.
you know, and we're not going to get political here, but I'll always make this point when people talk about this. It's like typically wherever you were brought up dictates the political side that you go on. It sucks we only have two, but it's like typically if you're brought up in the Midwest, you're going to be a conservative, and if you're brought up on either one of the coasts where there's high population, high crime, you go the other way. You know what I mean? And it's just it's nothing against anything other than that's where you were brought up and raised, and that's also how you see it when everything gets played out in the electoral college map, right? The middle of the country's all red, the outsides are all blue. Like, so it's all depend on, for the most part, where you were brought up, where you were raised, that dictates how you perceive and view things, and that dictates how you vote. And it's no different for these things too. How you were brought up or how you were viewed or how you live your life is going to dictate your viewpoints. Doesn't mean you're right, doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just those are yours. Let people have theirs, man. Like, what happened to tolerance?
Yeah, facts.
But here's the
Facts.
problem, though, with that is that there are echo chambers that people stick to when they view reality. When they're not really viewing reality, they're viewing their little bubble.
Yeah.
So they never go outside that bubble to see what the other side thinks. That's why there's a lot of political division, social division, economic division, because everybody wants to view it from their corner. And I wrote about this as my final paper, that the reason communication wise has broken down because nobody wants to. There's no empathy. There's no reaching out. This is stuff like, and the biggest problem that brings it about was actually predicted in Metal Gear Solid. I think in Metal Gear Solid 2, basically the internet provides these echo chambers where people don't have to really meet each other. They don't have to be in each other's presence. That's why, funny thing, that's why a lot of people are all of a sudden feel emboldened to say whatever they want, like Pelican Man in the chat, feeling like he can say whatever he wants. But if we were all in the same physical presence, it'd be different.
Saying it.
Right. So it's one of those things where, I would say, and a lot of people want to look at 2008 as that linchpin year, because that's when Twitter popped off. Somebody wants to say, well, because of President Obama, I was like, no, at the same time, that's when Twitter exploded. So as soon as Twitter exploded, that's when everybody all of a sudden just became locked into wherever they wanted to be and however they wanted to view reality. They can view it from their own bubble and then lash out every now and then. But
I think the pandemic made it worse.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Oh yeah,
as far as
without question.
talking crazy behind your keyboard because you knew
Keyboard
there was
warriors.
No danger. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
I mean it's because if you look at it,
Avengers.
if you look at how people acted when they first were allowed back into arenas, it was clear that they forgot that they were in person saying the shit they were saying. Because it's calmed down now. If you notice, it's calmed down, right? Like last year, it was really bad. There were interactions every 2 seconds with fans, and now it's calmed down because people have eased back into society and realized you can't just say whatever the hell you want to. Somebody smack you upside your fucking head. Yeah. And I think it needs to happen more often, but I'm not an advocate of violence like that. But shit, sometimes you got to be held accountable for the crazy shit that you say. That's just me. But
That's very true. Very true.
But people aren't, so they're allowed to say something and provoke you, and if you physically react, it's like, oh, it wasn't physical provocation, it was verbal provocation. So it's just one of those things in society today that won't change. Unfortunately, it's only getting worse. But
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, you look at the four of us. I'm like, even though Bills and I are on the East Coast, it's like Bills is in the Northeast, I'm in the Mid-Atlantic, and then Drey, you're in the South. But it's like you know, particularly, you see, you're in, just to confirm this, you're in Houston, right?
Yeah.
In the Houston area. So,
Yes,
and
sir.
then Schneid, you're in South Dakota. No, North
North.
Dakota. I had to look at your shirt real quick. I know I caught that. And see, I have this thing where like I'll walk into a mistake, but then sidestep
No,
it
you're
mid
good.
sentence. So
It should
Yeah.
just be all one Dakota, man.
oh boy, that actually was a plot in a video game, not with the Dakotas, but with the Koreas.
Okay.
Homefront.
Yeah, that was.
So it's just like the four of us coming from different regions, different experiences, different thoughts. And the fact that the four of us could sit here, even though we're not physically all in the same realm, but we can all talk our differences and not try to kill each other and not be divided, not allow our differences to really separate us, but we're able to come together and have fun with it. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing when they stick within their own, reality. They need to be outside. They need to be around others. They need to experience others. Like hell, most of us need to travel overseas. I'm like, you think everything's bad, you go overseas, how do they look at us from over there? They've been in a steady state of laughter. Laugh Anthony and I like, look at them. They don't even know what the hell is going on within themselves. What do you think?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But all right, so we're gonna wrap things up, and as we leave out, I'm gonna let Drey and Sim tell people where they can find you guys. Like, I know Drey has the High Ground podcast, and Sim is coming back with the SGN podcast. I did see that announcement. So he's going, and then Bills, he already mentioned it a couple hours ago. Yeah, he's going to have his podcast, and I get to, and you know what? I get to chill for a bit.
So here we go. It's so
right.
funny, right? Well, here's a little behind the scenes for people that don't know. So I kind of fake slipped and told these dudes yesterday when my podcast is going to launch. So for those of you who are in here now, you know my podcast is going to launch next Monday. It's not going to be live right away, but trust me, it will be live eventually. But for now, yeah, my podcast is launching next Monday, so look out for that. And I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited.
That's what's up.
All right. So
That's what's up. As for me, myself, I just finished this past week doing the High Ground podcast. We do spaces on Twitter, and then we also do an audio cast. So I do two different ones, double the dosage of laughter and fun in a way. So definitely follow me on Twitter, at Drey Watson. We do spaces there every Monday, 11 a.m., Pacific Central Time, whichever area of the, United States you're in. And mostly we're just talking about The Last of Us right now, since the series is, going on right now. I think episode 5 is going to be this week. So, yeah, we ain't trying to spoil it for you, but episode 5 is this Friday because of Super Bowl Sunday. So it's going to be a little early, which is good. So we'll probably want to do a recap until that Monday, possibly. Obviously with the guys, but it's myself, with the Sunflower, Grand, my man Chips, we all of us in there just having fun, enjoying it. And then also follow the light edition of the podcast on Apple. He said, yes, he is. He is the co-host, and he's in here giving me hell right now with the bullshit. So my co-host is in here giving.
Which co-host is he? Is he the one that was cracking up?
That's Grand.
That's
wow. Straight Grand.
That
I know exactly who that is.
Cracking me up. Oh, I had a friend in the Air Force just like him.
He said, "Better Drey born is fuck." Yeah, of course I'm born. Whatever. Your ass won't be on the next one. How about that? How about that?
You cut off.
You're trying me right now, but nah, just kidding.
You know what? I should have caught a clue when he said I'm conservative as fuck, because some of the stuff that he was saying, I should have caught it at that point.
But that's my boy Grand though. He the brody. But follow the podcast as well on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, everywhere for the light edition of the episode. But yeah, that's where you can find us at, man, for real.
All right,
appreciate you, DJ.
So I do, my main thing is YouTube. So it's just Sim Gaming Network. I do a lot of uploads there for sports gaming, Madden, 2K, MLB The Show, PGA Tour, etc., etc. I stream on Twitch as well. It's kind of what I've been doing is streaming on Twitch at Sim Gaming Network as well. Easy to find. It's where I'll kind of stream whatever I'm working on for the YouTube channel. Bringing back the podcast, like DJ said, I was working on it kind of last year and got distracted with life, and now I want to get back into it just so people maybe want to tune in. It's not live. I don't have any plans of going live with it just because you never know what can happen when you're live. But I do have on board. I don't have official dates yet when I will release it, but I do have Mole EA Dev said he'd come on and do my podcast with me. Wrestling fans of AEW, I got Scorpio Sky.
Yeah.
Who are you pointing to?
I was pointing to you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I told Bills about that, so it was like
about Scorpio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I got Sim Football Critics said he'd come on for me. Azure Effects said he'd come on for me. Some guys in the Madden community, and I don't know if I'll get a response, but he's DM'd me before, so I'm trying to get the Czar to come on and talk 2K
Bill's
simulation. I know Bills loves the Czar. I DM'd
him. And you know what? Bills literally disappeared in that shot when he faded. He literally faded to black.
He faded to black and said, "No, he did that."
And the developer for Maximum Football, we follow each other on Twitter, so I'm actually going to try to reach out to him. I think he'd be a great person to have because I'm actually really excited for what they're doing over there. I'd love to get him, and those are, like I said, I have a couple of those people for sure. A couple people waiting for a response. Other people haven't asked yet, but we'll see. So for the podcast, though, it goes on Spotify under Sim Gaming Network. I already have a couple episodes uploaded there. And then I also I record it with Anchor. You can listen there, but I also take and upload all the podcasts to YouTube as well. So a couple different places you can
see. I'm gonna have
listen.
to hit you up, man, to understand how to do that part because I've been wanting to do that for a minute, especially with the podcast that I do. I'm gonna hit you up, bro. We gonna.
What kind of console do you got? Do you have a PS5? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just tell you real quick because it takes 2 seconds. Literally take your recording, put it on a USB stick, upload it into your Share Factory on your PS5. It's a free app, and then it's for editing videos. It's how I pretty much do most of my video edits. It's a video editor built in PlayStation for free.
Wait a minute.
Import.
Didn't know about Share Factory.
Yeah, Share Factory is legit.
I knew about Share Factory,
yeah, you can
upload podcast episodes.
Well, it's audio. It's audio file. You can upload a video file too, and then you can edit it however you want to. But I always do the audio file, and then what I do is you just put a picture in the background, and then I just put my SGN logo as an overlay over it, and just run it for the whole entire length of the audio, and then I just render it and upload it. Super easy to do.
Because I use it's funny, I use FL Studio because I already record music, so that's how I get my audio. But that's just an easier way for me. You got to pay for FL Studio.
If my co-host is still in the chat, Grant, write that down because we're gonna be doing that pretty soon. So we need to get that going immediately.
Unless he quits first.
You can always hit me up and I'll walk you through it. It's super easy.
Put in my 2 weeks.
He ain't put no 2 weeks notice. Nah.
That's what he said.
Right, you put in your 2 weeks notice. Ain't no separation pay. You just get the hell out of here.
Exactly. He think he leaving. Nah, bro. Brother Sunflower, kill him. He'll kill me if that's the case.
Yeah, super easy though. I'll help you out anytime.
Got you. Good looks.
Yeah.
All right, Bills, where can they find you? Because right now we can't even see you.
You can find me. That's all right, John Cena, right? You can find me at Power Hour with Free Royal on YouTube. You can find me at Free Royal Power Hour on Instagram. You can also find me at Free Royal Music on Instagram. And you can find me at Wankman Skip on Twitter because I still haven't changed look, you can blame Twitter for banning me that time, all right? Because
Nah, we can
before
blame
that,
the other guy for getting you banned. Soft drink. Yeah,
soft bitch sports.
Wait,
Yeah.
soft drink
Fucking,
sports
Wow.
got you
Yeah,
banned?
yeah, it was
Bro, he's got a
soft
huge.
TV.
How did he get you banned?
No,
it was
it's
a
a whole
huge
thing.
misunderstanding,
Alright.
and
Hit me up. Slide in them
Yeah.
DMs,
I'll
bro.
let you know.
I need the
yeah.
story. I need the story.
Yeah, we
I'll
need the
tell
scoop
you.
on that joint.
All right, well, people can easily find me. I said what I said, which is under DJ81 on Twitter. Now, you can also find me on IG, but I don't really share that too much. So these guys have
You
my
don't post
IG
much
now.
either.
Well, I do. It's just I don't really
Randomly.
do selfies. Yeah, randomly.
Randomly.
Literally randomly.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a website that I do write occasionally on, and I haven't posted the last 2 articles because, well, I don't have anything written for the last 2 episodes of The Last of Us because now I just want to sit back and enjoy. But for those that want to go and read the couple of articles, I have dj81.org, and you can check out those articles and any older articles I have on there. Also has the playlist to this podcast. I try to keep everything in order. My YouTube channel is under DJ81. You can actually see everything I've done from this year
Oh god.
to way back in 2011. What the hell is going on?
Grand.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Got feet pics.
He got feet pics.
Well, you must be interested. Well, you must be
Yo.
interested if you looking.
Oh,
You
man,
look
Grand
for
is
what you
stupid.
want. Remember
Grant
that.
said
Grand is stupid.
Grant said he will
He's
pay
looking
Grant
for
those
what he
feet
wants.
pics.
Yo, the next time you do
It's
the
like the
show again,
Precious.
if you bring
I
both
want
of us on here,
it.
it's gonna be wild, bruh. It's gonna be wild. He's gonna be a riot.
I know.
promise you.
I already know. I'm prepared for a person like that.
Oh
That's
man.
he's real easy to deal with. So
But he good people though.
What
He
does
good
that
people. That's
mean?
my
Oh
guy.
yeah.
What does
People,
that mean? That sounded sketchy as hell.
Yeah, that was kind of sketchy. Like,
how's
what
that
was
sketchy?
that?
I'm just saying I'm
Yeah.
prepared for a person like that. I'm like,
What are you gonna do? You block him?
why would I? No.
The way he
block
said
my
it was
That's
co-host.
the
like
last.
about to be some
Blocking people
Swift.
has been the last thing I would do. I would just indulge. Bills,
That's
you
sketchy,
know.
too. All right,
Give me a-
just,
oh, now
we
it's
need to close
sketchy.
out.
Now
we need
it's
to close
sketchy.
out this podcast, man.
Whatever.
Grant's talking about feet pics. You're talking about indulge. let's
And
close
you
this
just
one
disappeared to the darkness in the back
Yeah,
of Aaron
because
Rodgers. And you had the nerve to wear a white shirt to make it even
I
easier.
did. Hey, you can see me though.
Clayton Bigsby want to be over there,
Please.
wear a white shirt, and then all of a sudden disappear in the back.
Hey, look, man, they can see me.
Well,
They can see me.
until you
See
lean.
Hey, the
Damn.
chair is black. That's why the chair is black.
And so are
Damn.
you.
Nah, I'm brown. I'm brown. You see this skin colorism going on
Oh,
here.
boy,
Like,
here we go.
this is what happens, okay? On the East
Skin
Coast,
colorism.
okay?
Oh,
Yo.
yeah.
Colorism.
That's the
Skin
problem for our people.
colorism.
We do have that
That's so fucking
infighting that has lasted for generations. So yeah, that
Nigga,
does tend to happen.
me and Schneid has nothing to do with the skin colorism.
Drey, you're lighter than me.
Yeah, you are. You are.
Hey, that's fine. The females love it though, so don't be hating.
Oh yeah. Like I do
Oh,
just see a
he
hand.
said he do just
floating
hit a
on
head float on
Bruce.
Phil Street.
Hey,
All right.
look. We can't even see you. You was talking about feet pics for a dude. Okay, so I mean we don't gotta see
And
you.
then you got
know, talking
Pelican,
about
who has
feet pics.
another dude's picture as his Abby. So we see Pelican Man
Yeah.
has said anything.
Who was that guy in his
It's
avatar?
Black Hokage.
Black Hokage.
I knew it right away. Just like I knew when that man changed his name to what his name is currently, it was because of me. I did that. So anyway, all right.
I
So
hope Aaron Rodgers comes back.
What to
Just
play
gonna close
with
it
the
out
team,
with that.
play with the Raiders?
I hope he goes to the Raiders. Yeah.
Mm.
Schneid? Last thoughts on Aaron Rodgers coming back, not coming back? You think he's gonna? You
boy.
think he's gonna retire?
Love him. He's my quarterback, but he's too. What's the word I want to use here?
Far gone.
No. Too proud to share a Hall of Fame induction ceremony with Tom Brady. He wants to be the star of the Hall of Fame. You know, there's always a headliner. And if he goes into the Hall of Fame at the same time as Tom Brady, which they would, he would not be the headliner. It'd be Tom Brady. He'd be second fiddle to Tom Brady. He ain't going to want that. He'll come back.
Oh, MJ's the greatest. Art Monk, greatest receiver of all time. That's all I'm going to say.
Who, Michael Jackson?
Anyway. All right.
Magic Johnson. There's plenty of MJs out there.
All right. That's a wrap. Episode 50, season finale, Fatal 4-Way is now over.
It wasn't no championship win. So
And yeah, no, but anyway, everybody
It's a no
has
decision.
a blessed
It was a no
night.
decision.
Oh, wait a minute. Picks. Because just one last thing. I know I'm lying, but this is picks. Who's winning the Super Bowl this Sunday?
Chiefs.
Damn,
Chiefs.
that was quick.
Andy Reid revenge game. Chiefs.
I still haven't made my pick. I'm in a pick 'em league, and I haven't made my pick yet.
So you don't want to reveal your strategy. Well, there's only 2 teams, so
There
flip
is,
a
I'm
coin
saying, I
if you want to be fair.
No, but I literally don't know. I'm dead serious. I don't know.
I'm picking Eagles. And
I don't know,
the
bro.
only reason I want the Eagles to win, so it shows how much of a failure Washington has been for 20 years, that the
So you have
Eagles
a
can run off
vested
2
interest.
Super Bowls
Oh boy.
and just get. I'll be like, look, Daniel Snyder needs to sell it. Well, it's going to sell the team, and then from that, then we can recover.
Time out.
Sorry.
This is what I'll say.
If the Eagles do that, then since the last time the Redskins Commanders have
You
won
can
a
say
Super
Redskins.
Bowl,
I don't care.
yeah.
I'm around
The
this.
Cowboys have won 3, Giants have won 2, and the Eagles have won 2.
Damn.
So
yeah.
this is what I feel about this game. If the Eagles can get pressure, only rushing 4, I don't think the Chiefs have a chance. It remains to be seen because, I'm pretty sure Andy Reid has a plan to kind of get them pass rushers a bit upfield and, run the little screens and short stuff underneath. But I think that's the Chiefs' only chance. I don't think they're not going to be able to run the ball. I'm probably leaning Eagles because I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to run the ball. That's really the main thing for me. But we'll see who I pick. I don't know. I don't want to pick the Chiefs because, like I said, I don't want to pick the Eagles because the Eagles are big time fucking favorites right now. But it's hard to go against them.
All right.
And how is Mahomes' ankle?
Oh,
That's
boy.
the big question mark.
Yeah, that's going to be the final question. They say he can run all the plays, but, we'll see. But on that note, we got Drey Watson's descriptions. Socials are in the description down low for those that are watching it through archive, and Sim Gaming Network's socials and links are also down low in the description below. So with that, I wish everybody a good night. Be safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Bills don't disappear. And hopefully everyone gets a good night's rest because we all need it after this.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So everybody have a good night. Peace.
Peace.
Don't need no bad pussy.
Wow. He would say that.